Chapter 261. Old Lady Zheng found out about the news and went absolutely mad, immediately chasing after the killer. She ran down the murderer for more than 300 miles and, with a fighting skill resulting in mutual destruction, finally fought that unfamiliar innate realm martial artist to the death. Moreover, she also captured that innate realm's female disciple and brought her back to Barry with her son. That old woman herself was so severely injured that her lifespan was greatly reduced, and to this day, she still hasn't fully recovered. I never thought such a significant event had occurred back then. That Zheng family's boss died because of this, the middle-aged man exclaimed. At that time, you were still young and traveling with your master. Furthermore, Zheng family's boss died in an unglamorous way, and that old woman was desperate for face, so not many people know the inside story. The refined elder said. The Zheng you're talking about should be the posthumous child of Zheng family's boss. After his death, old Lady Zheng's disposition changed dramatically, becoming extremely cruel. Every day, there were servants beaten to death in Zheng Mansion. Everyone in the Zheng family lived in fear. It was later, when the wife of Zheng family's boss found out she was pregnant, that the old lady, overjoyed, began to gradually reign in her tyranny. Later, when Zheng family's boss's wife gave birth, it was a difficult labor. After giving birth to a son, she left this world. With only this one line of descent left by Zheng family's boss, old Lady Zheng naturally cherished the child to her bones. You said he was killed. No wonder her killing intent was so intense earlier. The refined elder felt somewhat relieved. As long as it wasn't someone from his own mansion who had provoked that old woman, everything was still negotiable. However, he was also a bit curious. Have you found out who exactly killed Zheng Yu? I haven't. The middle-aged man shook his head. The spies report that the Zheng family only knows the murderer of Zheng Yu was a martial artist in black clothing. His other identities remain a mystery. Moreover, it seems that the black-clothed martial artist wasn't specifically targeting Zheng Yu. He just happened to kill Zheng Yu while raiding that brothel. It looks like we have an interloper. Huh? Zheng family's boss back in the day was killed by a foreign innate realm martial artist. I never expected his son to follow in his footsteps. The refined elder felt some regret. If it was a martial artist from Song State, probably no one would dare risk angering that old woman by laying a finger on Zheng Yu. It must have been an external martial artist, unaware of the situation in Song State, who dared to take such a huge risk. However, grandfather, I've also uncovered another piece of information. The middle-aged man's expression became serious. It said that when the black-clothed martial artist was slaughtering at that brothel, he mentioned the place was a stronghold of Seven Killings Tower, and that he came on behalf of Seven Killings Tower. Are you saying that's true? The refined elder was taken aback. I'm not certain, but this came from the dying words of the guard who was accompanying Zheng Yu. It's likely true. Has the reach of Seven Killings Tower extended to Artsong State now? But haven't they always been entrenched in Central State? And who would dare provoke such an ancient sect? The refined elder murmured softly, sensing that matters might be far from straightforward. Yet, at this moment, the middle-aged man dropped another bombshell. Additionally, grandfather, the spies have learned that after the death of Zheng Yu, the ancestor of Zheng family was so enraged that he not only killed all of the guards protecting Zheng Yu, but also ordered their family and relatives to be captured for a live sacrifice in remembrance of Zheng Yu. What did you say? Hearing this, the refined elder could no longer ponder on Seven Killings Tower's affairs. He stood up abruptly, his face a picture of shock as he looked at his grandson. A live sacrifice? Has that old lady really gone insane? Just then, the refined elder felt an overwhelming surge of sorrow, accompanied by the sound of wailing and crying, coming from the northwest direction. That was precisely where Zheng Mansion was located. With a start, he no longer waited to speak with his grandson and disappeared from the study using his movement technique, rushing toward Zheng Mansion. When the refined elder arrived at Zheng Mansion, he saw a large group of people, chained and prostrate on the ground, crying and begging for mercy. There were old and young, men and women, even infants still in swaddling clothes among them. Beside them laid an elderly man, who had been decapitated, his blood soaking the ground. His severed head with eyes wide open, full of rage and sorrow. At a glance, the refined elder knew that the sorrow he had felt was emitted by the old man just before his death. He also knew the identity of the old man. He was a steward of the Zheng family with a cultivation in the internal organ realm, quite extraordinary, fairly well known in the state mansion. This old man had always been loyally devoted to the Zheng family and managed many of their properties efficiently. It is said that his eldest son also worked as a guard in Zheng Mansion, but unexpectedly he was killed here. "Ancestor, please forgive us, spare us." The cries echoed from the crowd. People continuously kowtowed to the old woman of the Zheng family on the stairs above, smashing their foreheads until they broke, staining the blue stone floor with streaks of blood. But there was someone, silent, staring at the old woman with eyes full of hatred. "Spare my life." The old woman looked indifferent, completely untouched by the scene before her. "I spared you, but who spared my ewer? You let your men promise to protect ewer. Yet they neglected their duty, leading to my ewer's death. Those useless fools deserve to die 1,000 deaths. You, as their wives and kin, are unforgivable. All must be buried with my ewer. No, please, ancestor of the Zheng family. It's not our fault. Please have mercy. Mercy." The people locked in chains below became even more terrified upon hearing this, desperately kowtowing and begging for mercy. However, the old woman remained unmoved by the scene. She waved her hand dismissively. "Take these lowlifes away and lock them up. On the day of Ewer's burial, they will be sent down to serve Ewer in the afterlife." "Yes." Immediately, the guard stepped forward, took the chains, and started to drag everyone away. "I won't go. I won't go. Ancestor of the Zheng family, have mercy, mercy." The crowd was in turmoil. Some didn't want to leave, but the strong guards dragged them away forcibly. Those who tried to escape were whipped until their skin split open and flesh burst. In an instant, the front of Zheng Mansion was filled with incessant screaming, too horrible to bear. Finally, when everyone had been dragged away, the area in front of the Zheng Mansion's gate once again returned to calm. The nearby residents had not failed to hear the screams, but out of fear of Zheng family's tyranny, nobody dared to come out to watch, let alone to intervene. "Old fellow, since you've come, then stop hiding and show yourself." After everything had quieted down, old woman Zheng suddenly spoke. The refined old man appeared, his face somewhat unsightly. The Zheng family guards shuddered in unison. Before the old man made an appearance, not one of them had been aware of his presence. The way he managed to hide his aura and form so well right under their noses. The answer was clear. This old man must undoubtedly be one of those few from the state mansion who were in the innate realm and not to be trifled with. "Old Lady Zheng, don't you think your actions are a bit too much?" the refined elder said with a displeased expression. "Oh, I was merely disciplining my Zheng family's servants. How is that going too far?" Old woman Zheng's face showed a hint of mockery. "They all have contracts with my Zheng family. Even if I kill them all, it's the Zheng family's affair. Since when is it your business, you old thing? If you want to discipline your servants, I naturally have no say. But if you intend to perform a living human sacrifice, then it does concern me," the refined elder stated gravely. "Living human sacrifice, too brutal, unacceptable to the heavens and the earth, and also to Holy Mountain. You're committing an act against the natural order of heaven and earth, and anyone has the responsibility to stop it." "Ha ha ha! Unacceptable to the heavens and earth, the natural order?" Old woman Zheng laughed as if she had heard a joke. Then a malicious expression crossed her face. "If the heavens truly had eyes, then why didn't they protect my ewer? My ewer was so good, merely went out to play, and then met with such misfortune. Those worthless servants failed to protect my ewer. Don't they deserve to die? Whoever dares to stop me, I'll fight them to the death." With that said, a powerful aura burst forth from the old woman. She struck her dragon head cane heavily on the ground, fracturing the blue stone beneath her feet. Her eyes fixed deadly on the refined elder. Lin, you old thing, are you sure you want to stop me? Feeling the imminent force of the old woman's aura and the madness in her eyes, the refined elder's face changed, and he immediately found himself in a difficult position. Chapter 262. The Plan to Kill the Heart. After a standoff with old woman Zheng, ultimately, the refined elder chose to temporarily step back. Firstly, they were all within the city, and if the two innate realm martial artists were to fight here, it would certainly affect nearby residents. At that point, violating the sacred laws of the Holy Mountain, they would definitely be held accountable, even arrested and imprisoned. Although he had sufficient reasons, the old woman had not actually conducted a human sacrifice, and if they really came to argue about it, it was feared that in the end, both would be equally chastised for their faults. Secondly, the elder saw madness and determination in old woman Zheng's eyes. He could feel that if he truly wanted to stop this old woman, she would indeed fight him desperately without caring for anything else. This old woman had not much life left and did not have many years to live, so she cared for nothing. But the elder did not want to join her in madness and risk himself, so he decided to take a step back for now. However, before leaving, the refined elder still advised, "Old Lady Zheng, sacrificing living people is too cruel. It goes against the heavenly Tao and harms your virtue. You are dragging the Zheng family toward a disaster without redemption. Please reconsider." "Humph! Old fool, if you don't dare to fight, then hurry up and scram. Don't block my view. And which of your eyes saw that I was going to perform a human sacrifice? I am merely dealing with some disobedient servants. Even if the Holy Mountain sends someone, they can't meddle in the affairs of the Zheng family," old woman Zheng said coldly. Seeing this, the refined elder knew that old woman Zheng was completely delusional and beyond persuasion. He shook his head and turned to leave. Watching the elder's departing figure, old woman Zheng's eyes showed a scornful expression. When her eldest son was killed by that outsider innate realm martial artist, she had visited these old fellows in the city to plead for their help in avenging him. But they all made excuses, one after another, unwilling to assist. If they had been willing to help back then, how could she have suffered severe injuries and reduced her lifespan? Now, it was just about dealing with some servants, and they all jumped out to stop her. A bunch of hypocrites. Pa! The refined elder walked home with a heavy heart, and suddenly, his expression changed as he looked towards the top of a tower not far away. He saw an elderly man with a youthful appearance and a middle-aged man with a face like white jade, standing there smiling. "You've come too." The refined elder's figure fluttered slightly, and with a few jumps, he too reached the top of the tower. "Your innate pressure is almost enveloping half of the prefecture. How could we not come?" said the elderly man with a youthful appearance helplessly. "Brother Lin, why bother provoking that old woman? You know her temper is not the person we knew when we were young anymore. But she is about to perform a human sacrifice. That method is too cruel. It damages the harmony of heaven and will certainly invite punishment from the Holy Mountain. When the time comes, I'm afraid the entire Zheng family will suffer." "Then let her conduct it," said the man with the face like white jade nonchalantly. "If that old lady Zheng wants to drag the Zheng family down with her, can the elder really stop her?" The refined elder just smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying nothing. But the elderly man with the youthful appearance understood his thoughts. They, along with old lady Zheng and the now-deceased ancestor of the Zheng family, had been close friends when they were young. There was a bond between them. It's just that later on, due to ideological differences and life events, they slowly drifted apart and gradually ceased to have any contact. But clearly, Brother Lin still cherished that bond. The younger man with the face like white jade did not understand these matters. "Brother Lin, I know you still hold onto the promises we made in our youth. But you should also realize that old lady Zheng has changed a long time ago. She is no longer the white-dressed female hero we once knew. The person she is today is ruthless, stubborn, insane, and indifferent. She has long become someone else," the white-haired, youthful-faced elder earnestly advised. The refined elder remained silent, and after a while finally sighed and said, "Of course I'm aware of that, But even if I disregard that old woman, I still must stop this. You all didn't see the dreadful state of those people, including infants not yet a year old. How could I bear it in my heart? I think you're being overly concerned, Mr. Lin. Don't forget that we still have the City Lord Mansion. Our City Lord is far from weak. If that old lady really intends to perform a living human sacrifice, the City Lord Mansion will never stand idly by. Otherwise, how would they continue to command respect in Song State? The gentleman with a complexion as fair as white jade said. The refined elder paused. Then his eyes slightly brightened, and he fell into deep thought. Although the conflict between the old woman Zhang and the refined elder did not erupt, their conversation ultimately fell into the ears of many. Thus, the rumor that the Zhang family's ancestor intended to hold a live human sacrifice to appease the spirit of her recently deceased grandson quietly began to spread in the prefecture. Yuan Hao, I had you look into the thief who killed Yuer. How is the investigation going? In the Zhang mansion, the old woman asked the Zhang family master with an indifferent face. Mother, the Zhang family master said with some difficulty. I've mobilized all the power we have in the mansion to investigate, but not a trace has been found. We only know that the black-clothed martial artist who killed Yuer must be a martial arts grandmaster who is skilled in hidden weapons and boxing. As to his identity, we've been unable to determine anything. The man seems to have appeared out of thin air. There's absolutely no information about him throughout Song State. Unable to find out? Are you saying Yuer died in vain? Old woman Zhang looked at her second son. It's not what I meant. It's just that the person's appearance was truly mysterious. And with the mansion's power, it's truly difficult to discover anything. If the people in the mansion can't find out, can't you make use of other forces? Seven Killings Tower lost a base. Shouldn't they show some response? Can't you go to the Seven Killings Tower to inquire? The Zhang family master was taken aback. Indeed, he hadn't thought of this. Old woman Zhang looked at her second son's dull expression and was even more disappointed. Had her eldest son still been alive, how could he have failed to think of such a simple matter? You're right, mother. I'll immediately send someone to Seven Killings Tower to gather information. The Zhang family master came to his senses and hurriedly said, The old woman hummed. The room once again fell into silence. After quite a while, the Zhang family master remembered another piece of information reported by the mansion's spies and, after hesitating, decided to speak up. Mother, there are now rumors spreading throughout the city that our Zhang family wants to perform a live human sacrifice. If these rumors spread widely, I fear they will be very harmful to our Zhang family. Is that so? That's exactly what I want. Unexpectedly, the old woman was not surprised at all. Instead, she sneered coldly. I want this rumor to spread far and wide. Even better if it reaches all corners of Song State. That murderer who killed Yuer, wasn't he the one who claimed to seek justice for those lowly prostitutes and courtesans? Since he prides himself on being righteous. Now, with so many lives about to die miserably because of him, I want to see if he dares to come out and stop it. Mother, you? The Zhang family master was shocked. He had never imagined his mother would have such a plan. Don't worry. Despite my hatred, I haven't lost my mind, and I wouldn't actually conduct a live human sacrifice. Just prepare as I've instructed. Yes, mother. I will make the arrangements right away. Knowing his mother hadn't truly succumbed to madness, the Zhang family master also felt greatly relieved. He immediately bowed and went down happily to make arrangements. However, he didn't see the sudden cold and vengeful look in his mother's eyes behind him. Chapter 263 Miracle Emerges. In the early morning, Lu Qing arrived at Half Mountain Small Courtyard with Little Yen and Little Li. He saw that the ancestor of the Wei family was also there, while Elder Dr. Chun was brewing tea under the plum tree. Senior Wei, Lu Qing greeted with a bow. Hello, Grandpa Wei. Little Yen also greeted obediently. Good, all is good, Wei Shanhai said with a smile across his face. By the way, young Master Lu, the materials you asked me to find a few days ago have all been gathered. I've placed them inside the house. You can go check them later to see if anything is missing. All the materials have been found? Lu Qing was somewhat surprised. He went inside to check and indeed found that the materials had been assembled. He quickly came out to give thanks. Thank you, Senior Wei, for gathering these materials. How much did it cost? I will reimburse you. My young lord, you flatter me. It's just some materials, hardly worth mentioning. The kindness you've shown to our Wei family cannot be repaid with such trivial things. Wei Shanhai laughed. Lu Qing tried to refuse again, but seeing that Wei Shanhai insisted, he had no choice but to accept. Then, I shall accept them with gratitude. That's right. However, I am quite curious, young Master Lu. Some of the materials you requested are quite peculiar. May I know what you plan to use them for? Wei Shanhai inquired. I intend to experiment with a few things. As for what exactly, please allow me to keep it under wraps for now. Once I succeed, I shall seek guidance from you, Senior Wei. Ha ha! Then I shall eagerly await the results. Wei Shanhai chuckled. Seeing that Lu Qing did not wish to reveal more at that moment, Wei Shanhai was not upset. Instead, his anticipation grew. Previously, Lu Qing had asked their Wei family to find materials from which he crafted a very magical fire liquid. And with that fire liquid, he forged a rarely seen divine weapon. The materials Lu Qing sought this time were even more peculiar, so the project he wanted to test must be even more extraordinary. Thus, he was very expectant. Come, Mr. Wei, have some tea. At this moment, Elder Dr. Chen's tea was ready. Little Yen conscientiously took Little Li to the study to read. Lu Qing also sat down and chatted with the two elders. Excellent tea. After drinking a cup, Wei Shanhai felt a refreshing aroma fill his mouth, and he couldn't help but praise, Elder Dr. Chen. Each time I drink your plum tea, it has a different taste. Your tea brewing skills are truly marvelous. It's just that this plum blossom is rather unique. My tea brewing skills are actually quite ordinary. The elder doctor chuckled. Although Wei Shanhai knew this was a humble remark, he couldn't help but nod in agreement. He looked enviously at the plum tree behind the elder doctor. This plum tree had received the nourishment of heaven and earth primordial qi and had undergone a transformation, becoming a rare treasure tree. He felt somewhat regretful. When he had entered the innate realm, why hadn't he thought of this? If he had also sought a quality tea tree to aid his breakthrough at that time, he could now also possess a treasure tea tree. However, Wei Shanhai knew that this was just wishful thinking. Back when he glimpsed the chance for a breakthrough, he was overjoyed, forgetting everything and focusing solely on the breakthrough, fearing he would miss the opportunity. He wouldn't have thought to make such thorough arrangements ahead of time. After several cups of tea, everyone became more engaged in the conversation. By the way, young Master Lu, a considerable part of the materials you needed this time were purchased from the state mansion. Yesterday, the manager who escorted the materials from my mansion also brought news of some recent major events happening in the world. Oh, what interesting events? Lu Qing asked with keen interest. With the imminent changes in heaven and earth, he was quite concerned about the dynamics of the world. The first major event is in Jizhou. Over the past few months, a very powerful demon has appeared who likes to hunt down accomplished martial artists who have succeeded in their cultivation. This demon isn't known for which devil technique he cultivates, but he can suck the chi blood and marrow from people, which is extremely tyrannical and terrifying. Every martial artist harmed by him ends up drained of chi blood and marrow, looking like a dried corpse, which is utterly horrifying. And it seems this demon specifically targets young, famous martial artists with excellent innate talents. So far, he has already harmed dozens of young martial artists, many of whom were disciples of sects from Jizhou, and among them were even experts of the internal organ realm. This matter has already caused an uproar in Jizhou. All the major sects have already dispatched experts, determined to slay this demon and avenge their fallen disciples. Can such things be? Elder Doctor and Lu Qing were both startled. Especially Lu Qing, the way Wei Shanhai described the deaths of those martial artists made him think of some rather unpleasant things. This matter is absolutely true. Now in Jizhou, there is already quite a bit of panic. Many young martial artists no longer dare to travel outside, for fear of encountering that demon and becoming his prey," said Wei Shanhai solemnly. A thought struck Lu Qing. "Senior Wei, I remember that your esteemed house's eldest son is studying in Jizhou, so that's not something to worry about. Hao Er has already left Jizhou half a year ago with several fellow disciples to travel to Central State." Talking about this, Wei Shanhai also felt somewhat relieved. Otherwise, given the cruelty of that demon, he truly couldn't guarantee that Wei Zihao wouldn't encounter harm. Elder Doctor pondered for a moment, then asked, "Can suck human bone and blood? Could it be that this demon is a high-ranking expert of the demon path in the innate realm?" "I'm not sure about that either." Wei Shanhai shook his head. "Since the establishment of Holy Mountain 1,000 years ago, the demon path has been declining, and it has been quite a while since a demon of the innate realm has appeared. If this demon truly were a demon of the innate realm, Holy Mountain would have taken action. If he's not a demon of the innate realm, does that mean Holy Mountain won't intervene?" asked Lu Qing. "Exactly, Holy Mountain holds such an exalted status. Naturally, it can't possibly handle everything personally, nor can it manage every matter. Aside from certain principle-based prohibitions, it generally doesn't intervene in the conflicts of martial artists below the innate realm. Even if it's a war between commanderies that could put hundreds of thousands of people in dire straits, it remains an indifferent observer. If that demon hasn't reached the innate realm, Holy Mountain is likely to continue standing by. After all, the world is vast and martial artists are born continuously. It is only the death of a few dozen young martial artists. In Jizhou, it might be a big issue, but in the grand scheme of things, it's hardly significant." Hearing this, Lu Qing pondered deeply, gaining further insight into the stance of Holy Mountain. "If that demon is only causing trouble in Jizhou, it's still better," continued Wei Shanhai. "What I'm worried about is that now that the major sects of Jizhou have already dispatched experts to hunt this demon, the moment that demon sees that the situation is unfavorable, he might flee to Artsang State, which would be troublesome. For example, young Master Lu, you have to be extremely careful. That demon likes to target young, talented martial artists, and he might come for you. People of the demon path, their techniques are strange, and they are vastly different from our martial cultivation. You really must be extra cautious." Upon hearing this, Elder Doctor also said solemnly, "Indeed, Ah Qing, you must be vigilant." Lu Qing was known in the Hidden Dragon list, a true peerless genius. Given the tendencies exhibited by that demon, Wei Shanhai's concern was not unfounded. "Yes, I will be careful," Lu Qing responded earnestly. Although he was confident, he also didn't feel that there was nobody in the world who could pose a threat to him. According to what Wei Shanhai said, if the cultivation technique that demon practiced was really as he suspected, he truly couldn't afford to be careless. Besides the Jizhou matter, there's another significant issue. Seeing that Lu Qing had taken the words to heart, Wei Shanhai also felt relieved and continued to chat. "However, this matter happened here in Artsang State, and it's something from the past few days." Chapter 264 Rumors. "Oh, what great event has transpired in Artsang State?" Hearing Wei Shanhai mention an incident in Song State, Lu Qing's thoughts stirred slightly, and he asked without revealing any emotion. "A couple of days ago, something happened at the state mansion. There was a brothel that for some unknown reason was slaughtered. It wasn't considered a big deal at first. These small forces lingering on the fringes of society often offend others. Disputes are common, and their annihilation isn't surprising. But unexpectedly, at the time of the massacre, the second young Master Zhang of the prefecture's Zhang family was there, and he was killed in the process. That truly stirred up a hornet's nest. Why is that? Is this prefecture's Zhang family that formidable?" the elder doctor asked curiously. The prefecture's Zhang family is a very powerful, long-standing noble family. Their influence ranks high throughout the entire state mansion. They are considered one of the strongest families in Song State. The Zhang family's ancestor, although a woman, has profound cultivation. Many years ago, she was already a powerful martial artist at the peak of the initial innate realm. Although she later suffered serious injuries due to certain events and could no longer progress in her realm, she is still considered one of the most powerful innate realm beings in the prefecture. Wei Shanhai explained. Senior Wei, is the major event you mentioned related to the Zheng family? Lu Qing continued to ask. It seemed that the affair of Yuanyang village being a stronghold for Seven Killings Tower hadn't spread. He wondered whether someone had deliberately suppressed the news or if the guests who'd escaped simply hadn't spread the word. Indeed, Wei Shanhai nodded. Initially, the death of second young Master Zheng wouldn't have been a major issue. In these times, even the disciples of the top sects can perish in their travels due to a slight misfortune, let alone just a noble son of a family. But the problem is, this second young Master Zheng was the beloved grandchild of the Zheng family's ancestor. After his death, she went mad. Not only did she execute all of second young Master Zheng's guards, but she also detained their wives, children, and relatives, proclaiming that on the day of her grandson's funeral, she would perform a living human sacrifice with all of them to accompany him in burial. When hearing about the living human sacrifice, Lu Qing did not react much. He was just surprised by the Zheng family ancestors' ruthlessness. It was one thing to execute guards who failed to protect, but quite another to not spare their families. Could such actions really belong to a great family? But the elder doctor, upon hearing the words, living human sacrifice, showed a look of extreme shock, his face filled with horror. Living human sacrifice? Is the Zheng family's ancestor really that cruel? Master, what is a living human sacrifice? Lu Qing, rarely seeing his master so troubled, could not help but ask. A living human sacrifice is an extremely cruel method of burial sacrifice. Before the elder doctor could answer, Wei Shanhai began to explain. Typically, the sacrificial victims are given life-sustaining medicine. Then they are tortured with various cruel punishments, and just when their last breath remains, they are sealed with clay to make clay figures, which are buried with the tomb owner. Due to the effects of the life-sustaining medicine, even after becoming clay figures, the victims within do not die immediately, maintaining just a breath of life. Then, in the darkness of the tomb, filled with unspeakable fear, they slowly experience the fading of their own lives, ultimately dying in endless resentment. Lu Qing shivered slightly. He had not anticipated that the method of living human sacrifice could be so cruel. No wonder his master was so moved. Elder Doctor's expression turned grave. I remember that this method, because it's excessively cruel and damages the harmony of heaven, had already been ordered to be abolished and prohibited by the royal capital. Wei Shanhai nodded. It's not just the royal capital, even the Holy Mountain also issued a decree that the living sacrifice of human beings must not be practiced. Thus, such incidents have become rare throughout the world. Even if someone were to perform this method, they would only dare to do so stealthily, definitely not openly. Then why would the Zheng family's ancestor take such a huge risk to carry out this cruel and inhumane method? The elder doctor inquired. Indeed, isn't she afraid of the Holy Mountain sending someone to punish her? Lu Qing echoed. I do not know about that. Wei Shanhai shook his head. However, there are rumors outside that the Zheng family's ancestor has gone mad. In her early years, she had 2 sons, of which the eldest son possessed an extraordinary martial arts talent, being one of the most renowned young talents in Song State at that time. The Zheng family's ancestor doted on him heavily and intended to groom him to become the head of the Zheng family. Unexpectedly, due to some matters, the Zheng family's eldest son offended an innate realm martial artist passing through Song State and was killed on the spot. On hearing this, the Zheng family's ancestor fought a fierce battle with the outside innate realm warrior and avenged her son. But she also sustained grave injuries and her life was greatly diminished. Considering this, her time is also nearly up, with not many years left to live. It is said that the recently deceased second young Master Zheng was the posthumous child of that eldest son of the Zheng family. With such successive blows and her own impending death, it's feared that the Zheng family's ancestor's reason has faded, and thus she disregards the Holy Mountain's decree. Even so, she should not resort to the practice of living human sacrifice. This method is too cruel, and it is rumored that the people tortured by this method have their resentment lingering, their 3 souls and 7 spirits trapped within earthen effigies, unable to enter the cycle of reincarnation, unable to be liberated, which is greatly against the harmony of heaven. said the elder doctor, still looking disturbed. Senior Wei, since the royal capital had also issued a clear command to abolish this practice, hasn't anyone from the state mansion tried to stop it? Lu Qing asked. The Zheng family's intention to carry out a living human sacrifice is currently just a rumor, not yet confirmed. On this matter, the Zheng mansion, too, fervently denies it. Without concrete evidence, even the city lord mansion cannot take action against the Zheng family. Yet, strangely enough, knowing that these rumors are highly detrimental to themselves, the Zheng family does not suppress them and allows them to spread widely, which is truly baffling. Additionally, the Zheng family indeed has taken prisoner the wives and relatives of those several guards. Because of this, many people began to feel that the rumors may not be unfounded. In any case, the entire prefecture is now somewhat tense. We do not know whether the Zheng family's ancestor will actually go mad and carry out that inhuman act on the day of her grandson's funeral. Hopefully, the Zheng family's ancestor will have mercy in her heart and not commit such a sin. Upon hearing there might still be a chance, the elder doctor breathed a sigh of relief. He has always been kind-hearted, and if the Zheng family's ancestor indeed intended to proceed with a living human sacrifice, he would likely not be able to refrain from trying to stop it. Let's hope that is the case. I've heard that among the relatives of those deceased guards captured, there are even children not yet of age. If even the children are subjected to such extreme punishment, it would be too horrendously inhumane. Wei Shanhai also lamented. On hearing this, the elder doctor's expression sank once more. On the other hand, Lu Qing, having heard Wei Shanhai's previous remarks, suddenly had a thought and guessed at something. However, he did not reveal anything on his face and continued to keep company with the two elder men in conversation. Subsequently, Wei Shanhai shared some of the recent events happening in the world. The Wei family, although living in seclusion, always kept an eye on external affairs. Especially after the near extinction of their family 2 years earlier, and knowing that great changes were imminent in the world, they were very sensitive to the developments outside. Thus, Lu Qing also obtained a lot of information about worldly matters. After Wei Shanhai was done chatting and returned to his separate residence, Lu Qing went back home, his expression solemn as he silently pondered. Chapter 265. Covert and Overt Conspiracies Sparring Invitation. Does the Zheng family's ancestor allow unfavorable rumors about her own family to spread deliberately to provoke me into coming forward? Lu Qing pondered in his heart. When Wei Shanhai mentioned that the Zheng family did not acknowledge the live human sacrifice, yet did not stop the spread of the messages, Lu Qing had roughly guessed the other party's intentions. Previously, when he attacked Yuanyang village, he had made several layers of disguises, and he had also used the Earth Element Talisman, a mysterious talisman. Even if his master had been present, it was unlikely that he would be able to see through his true identity, let alone the Zheng family. According to Wei Shanhai's description of the Zheng family's ancestors' character, she had even taken out her anger on innocent clan protectors, being so narrow-minded and vicious. It was impossible for her not to hate him, the murderer who personally killed her grandson, to the bone. It was just because he had hidden his tracks too well, making him impossible to trace. But obviously, the Zheng family's ancestors' hatred for him was not going to disappear. She would certainly try all means to find him. Did she find out from the guests the reason why I slaughtered Zheng Yu? So now she wants to use morality as a bait to force me out? Lu Qing tapped his fingers lightly on the table, roughly figuring out some of the Zheng family's ancestors' thoughts. Originally, he had not killed those guests and prostitutes. Firstly, because according to the information detected by his superpower, those people had not committed significant sins, especially the women who had been coerced into selling themselves, who were truly pitiful. Although he did not think of himself as a saint, he also did not want to kill the innocent indiscriminately. Secondly, he was confident in his ability to disguise. At that time, it was unlikely anyone could see through his real identity. As such, he disdained to go to the trouble of killing people to silence them. Looking at it now, indeed no one was able to see through his identity, but some of his information had still been leaked. If I were really a young martial artist with a strong sense of justice, perhaps I would indeed be impassioned and fall into the trap. Lu Qing shook his head, somewhat amused. But gradually, his smile faded, and a mysterious expression appeared in his eyes. However, although I know this is a trap, I still really want to kill you. What should I do? Lu Qing had to admit that the other party's strategy was indeed clever. Although he had guessed the other party's intentions, he still couldn't help but feel the urge to kill. The other party's trap was both a conspiracy and an overt plot, employing a heart-piercing strategy. And moreover, you are so convinced you can handle me? The next day, Lu Qing arrived at the Wei family's estate. Young Master Lu, what did you say? You want to have a sparring match with me? Wei Shanhai looked at the sincere Lu Qing in front of him, wondering if he had heard wrong. Ma Gu and Wei Zian next to him were also staring blankly at Lu Qing, especially Wei Zian, who couldn't believe his ears. What had he just heard? Lu Qing was actually challenging the old ancestor, the elder revered as an innate realm expert. Indeed, I have encountered a bottleneck in my recent cultivation and can't figure out some things. I would like to have a sparring session with my senior to see if I can gain some enlightenment. I hope Senior Wei will not hesitate to enlighten me, Lu Qing said earnestly. Seeing that Lu Qing was not joking, Wei Shanhai also became more serious. If that's the case, why doesn't young Master Lu ask for guidance from your master? Old Dr. Chen's martial arts realm is even more profound than mine, and he should be more capable of advising young Master Lu. Wei Shanhai had always held old Dr. Chen's martial arts cultivation in high regard, especially the mastery of combining water and fire and the concept of the innate domain. He had sought advice many times and totally failed to grasp it. What I need is not guidance, but pressure. Lu Qing shook his head. Senior Wei should also know that my master is not fond of fighting with others, and he is quite doting towards me. Sparring with him, I'm afraid, won't give me much pressure. That's true. Wei Shanhai thought of the elder doctor's temperament and nodded unconsciously. Frankly, after having known the elder doctor for a long time and becoming familiar with his temperament, Wei Shanhai had been astonished more than once. The elder doctor was clearly not someone who liked to compete with others, nor was he particularly enthusiastic about martial arts, and he didn't look like a martial artist at all. And yet, his achievements in martial arts far surpassed Wei Shanhai's. This was something he could never quite understand. However, Wei Shanhai looked at Lu Qing. One needs a spar with an innate realm expert to feel the pressure? Young Master Lu, what level has your cultivation reached now? This was also something Wei Shanhai had been curious about for a long time. About a year and a half ago, he suddenly realized that he could no longer see through Lu Qing's cultivation level. At that time, he was quite surprised. After all, as an innate realm expert, it was simply incredible that he couldn't see through the cultivation of a postnatal realm martial artist. At that time, Lu Qing had explained that he had cultivated a mysterious secret technique, capable of hiding his own cultivation breath, so others couldn't see through it. Now that a year and a half had passed, Wei Shanhai was very curious about Lu Qing's current cultivation level. Upon hearing this, Ma Gu and Wei Zian also instantly perked up, their gazes fixed on Lu Qing. Their realms were much lower than Lu Qing's, and they had been unable to discern his true cultivation level as early as 2 years ago. Seeing this, Lu Qing knew he had to reveal some of his true strength. He retracted some of the power of the Divine Soul Talisman and revealed a little bit of his true aura. Then, Ma Gu and Wei Zian both felt as if a ferocious aura, akin to that of ancient savage beasts, was rushing towards them, causing them to involuntarily retreat several steps, their eyes wide with shock. Wei Shanhai also shook all over, his face showing a look of amazement. After a long moment, he sighed, "Postnatal realm perfection, martial arts grandmaster realm, young Master Lu, you have indeed reached this realm." Actually, when Lu Qing mentioned that only an innate realm could pressure him, Wei Shanhai had already made some guesses. However, when he truly sensed Lu Qing's cultivation, he still couldn't help being astonished. After all, if he remembered correctly, Lu Qing was not even 19 years old yet. A 19-year-old martial arts grandmaster, such an achievement, even in the land of Central State, renowned for its outstanding geniuses, would likely stand unmatched and alone. Moreover, over these 2 years, he had also learned that the real time Lu Qing had spent practicing martial arts was actually less than 3 years. In less than 3 years, he went from not even being a martial artist to stepping into the Grandmaster realm. Such an incredible rate of cultivation was truly astonishing. Truly a peerless genius with great fortune, Wei Shanhai once again exclaimed in his heart. As for Ma Gu and Wei Ziyan, they had already been left dumbstruck. "Brother Lu Qing, have you truly become a martial arts grandmaster?" Ma Gu asked, bulging his eyes. "I happened to make a breakthrough a few days ago," Lu Qing nodded. "But it is precisely because of this that I encountered a bottleneck, and so I wanted to exchange moves with Senior Wei to see what I can understand from it. I see, with young master's strength, indeed only an innate realm could provide you with pressure." Wei Shanhai nodded in understanding. Originally, when Lu Qing was at the peak of the perfect bone marrow realm, he could already defeat martial arts grandmasters. Now that he had achieved postnatal perfection, his strength had undoubtedly increased to an even more unfathomable level. Obviously, an ordinary martial arts grandmaster could no longer be his opponent. Thinking of this, Wei Shanhai also started to feel some anticipation. He too wanted to know how powerful Lu Qing currently was. "Young Master Lu, where shall we go to have our spar?" Chapter 266. First battle with innate, complete sword intention. In the deep mountains, a certain valley, Lu Qing and Wei Shanhai stood opposite each other, swords in hand. Of course, the weapons they held were only ordinary 100 refined battle blades, not divine weapons. After all, they were only sparring, not fighting to the death. "Young Master Lu, this place is tranquil and agreeable, with a broad view, truly a nice location for sparring." Wei Shanhai looked around at the surroundings and praised. "This is a place I stumbled upon when picking herbs in the mountains. Occasionally, I also come here to practice." "Indeed, it's quite nice," Lu Qing said with a smile. The other courtyard was too close to Jili village. The presence of an innate realm expert was too terrifying for ordinary people. And with many elderly in the village, to avoid alarming them, Lu Qing chose to spar in the mountains far from the village. Ma Gu surveyed the surroundings, recognizing that this was the nameless valley where Lu Qing had rescued him from being pursued. Back then, Lu Qing had also been with Little Li and had slain 2 disciples from the Tiansong sect. On the other hand, Wei Ziyan didn't care about the valley environment and stood on the hillside, his gaze fixed on the 2 people below, full of anticipation. Seeing that Lu Qing and Wei Shanhai were actually going to spar, naturally, they did not want to miss such a spectacle, so they shamelessly followed along. "Master, who do you think will win between Dr. Lu Qing and our ancestor?" Wei Ziyan asked. Ma Gu thought for a moment, hesitated and said, "I can't say for sure." Logically, although Lu Qing was a martial arts grandmaster, he was still in the postnatal realm, whereas Elder Wei of the Wei family was an innate realm expert. The disparity in cultivation between the two was vast. Undoubtedly, Elder Wei should be stronger. But somehow, Ma Gu intuitively felt that it might not be that simple. No other way about it, ever since he'd known Lu Qing, the youth had created too many miracles and left him with too many shocks. That's why, even with a fight between the postnatal and innate realms, he still believed it wouldn't be easy for Lu Qing to lose. Wei Shanhai, however, had no such confusion. As an innate realm expert, he had absolute confidence. Though Lu Qing was a rare martial arts prodigy whose path of cultivation could not be estimated, he had yet to grow up. The chasm between the postnatal realm and the innate realm couldn't be bridged by talent alone. So he felt quite at ease. Looking at Lu Qing leisurely, Wei Shanhai asked, "Young Master Lu, how exactly do you wish to spar?" "I would like to experience the true power of the innate realm, if I may?" Lu Qing asked. "Are you sure?" Wei Shanhai was startled. "Yes, I kindly ask Senior Wei not to withhold his guidance," Lu Qing earnestly replied. Wei Shanhai, seeing the sincere expression on Lu Qing's face, gradually grew serious. Then, with a sudden smile, "The power of the innate realm is not so easily endured. How about this? I'll suppress my power to the postnatal realm. If you can push me to a certain extent, you will naturally be able to feel the power of the innate realm. Lu Qing thought about it and saw the reason in it. If he couldn't even defeat Wei Shanhai with his strength suppressed to the postnatal realm, what right did he have to witness the power of the innate realm? So, he nodded. Very well, I await Senior Wei's instruction. He waved the long saber in his hand, assuming a starting posture. Watching Lu Qing's deep and stable starting posture, Wei Shanhai's eyes lit up. Good saber technique, young Master Lu. Your saber technique has truly reached the depths, achieving a transformative level, he praised. Wei Shanhai was also skilled in the saber skill, and feeling the realm of Lu Qing's saber technique, he was instantly delighted. Still, he did not move, waiting for Lu Qing to make the first strike. As an innate realm martial artist, Wei Shanhai was quite proud. He couldn't possibly make the first move when sparring with a postnatal realm martial artist. Lu Qing understood this, and after saying, "Please forgive my offense," the next moment, he lunged forward. As he neared Wei Shanhai, Lu Qing's wrist flicked lightly, and in an instant, the saber unsheathed. The frigid sword light emerged swiftly, slashing fiercely at Wei Shanhai. The chill within the sword light caused Ma Gu and Wei Ziyan on the hillside to break out in goosebumps, their eyes revealing shock. This saber technique! Even Wei Shanhai, feeling the might of Lu Qing's strike, was quite astonished. The power and sophistication of Lu Qing's strike had already far surpassed that of a mere saber master. He remembered the scene of Lu Qing's fight with Zhao Xiong, the leading disciple of Wang Cangyi, 2 years ago. At that time, even though Lu Qing was far less cultivated than Zhao Xiong, he managed to fight on equal footing simply through his saber technique. Now, it appeared that in 2 years, Lu Qing had made significant progress in the art of saber. However, Wei Shanhai was after all an innate realm expert, and likewise, his accomplishments in the way of the saber were profound. Even though his mind was surprised, his hand movements were not slow. With light flowing, Wei Shanhai's saber traced a circular arc, releasing a slash as well. The timing of his strike coincided exactly with the peak of Lu Qing's saber skill. He aimed to counter strength with strength, attack with attack, intending to shatter Lu Qing's assault head-on. Clang! The sabers collided, and the next moment, countless sword lights shone from around both men. In an instant, it was impossible to tell how many strikes each had made. One could only see layers of strong energy and sword qi erupting from between Lu Qing and Wei Shanhai, like a storm, surging fiercely. Both had simultaneously chosen to compete with speed, sword against sword. Ma Gu and Wei Ziyan standing on the hillside watched with bated breath, so tense they almost forgot to breathe. Chapter 267. No one expected that as soon as the two began to exchange blows, they would fight to such an extent. Just like that, Lu Qing and Wei Shanhai attacked each other with rapid saber moves for a dozen or so breaths. Suddenly, the sword light dissipated, and a figure retreated sharply backward. He took a dozen steps back before stabilizing himself, looking ahead with a shocked expression on his face. His clothing bore several noticeable rips. What? The old ancestor actually retreated? Did brother Lu Qing win? On the hillside, Ma Gu and Wei Ziyan couldn't help but exclaim when they saw this scene. The person who had retreated turned out to be Wei Shanhai. Sword intention. At this moment, the shock in Wei Shanhai's heart was overwhelming. He swallowed, watching Lu Qing in disbelief. Young Master Lu, have you actually stepped into the realm of sword intention and fully comprehended complete sword intention? Some days ago when practicing the saber, I happened to have an insight by chance. Lu Qing sheathed his war saber, his clothes intact. It's really sword intention. Although he was somewhat prepared, Wei Shanhai's heart still skipped a few beats when Lu Qing confirmed it. Using a postnatal realm body to comprehend complete sword intention, young Master Lu, both you and your teacher possess a monstrous talent for martial arts. The elder doctor was capable of exhibiting a hint of the innate realm intent even with the initial cultivation of the initial innate realm, and later he even comprehended the integration of water and fire to simultaneously cultivate dual systems of innate true qi, which had already shocked Wei Shanhai enough. But Lu Qing was just as exceptional as his teacher. He had managed to comprehend complete sword intention while still in the postnatal realm. You should know that the realm of will is extraordinarily mysterious. Even seasoned innate realm experts may not be able to comprehend their own unique will. Even he took decades after stepping into the innate realm before he gradually honed his own sword intention. Yet Lu Qing, at such a young age and without even breaking through to the innate realm, had already grasped complete sword intention. If this news were to spread, it would certainly send a shockwave throughout the entire cultivation world. What's more important, Wei Shanhai vaguely felt that Lu Qing's sword intention was even more mystical than his own as an innate realm expert. In the last few dozen moves of the rapid saber exchange that had just occurred, he had been thoroughly suppressed by Lu Qing. With his own sword intention driving his saber technique, he couldn't find any flaws in Lu Qing's saber technique. On the contrary, his own moves were several times found flawed by Lu Qing, slashing his clothes. Had it not been for Lu Qing's mercy, he would have been injured by now. Senior Wei, would you still like to continue testing my strength in the postnatal realm? Lu Qing asked. What's the point of testing further? Wei Shanhai said with a wry smile. Judging by saber technique alone, I've been completely defeated by you. While saying this, Wei Shanhai's heart still tasted some bitterness. Before sparring with Lu Qing, he had been full of confidence. He believed that although Lu Qing was an exceptional talent, rare in hundreds of years, he would hardly be able to withstand his innate realm martial consciousness. Instead, it was he who ended up being defeated. Am I qualified to witness the power of the innate realm level now? Lu Qing continued. Of course you are. Wei Shanhai was, after all, an innate realm expert, quickly adjusting his mindset and becoming serious. But young Master Lu, I also must tell you the power of the innate realm compared to the postnatal realm is entirely on a different level. The innate realm cultivates innate true qi, using the heart and spirit as a guide to absorb heaven and earth primordial qi and refine it into innate true qi, which is extraordinarily mysterious and contains immense power. The moves driven by this are shockingly powerful, far beyond anything the postnatal realm can compare to. The same set of martial arts, when driven by an innate realm martial artist with innate true qi, can exert at least several times or even dozens of times the power of when they were in the postnatal realm. The two cannot be mentioned in the same breath. I understand, Lu Qing said solemnly. Wei Shanhai's meaning was clear. That is, although he might have been slightly inferior in saber technique just now, if he were to use innate true qi, the outcome would be entirely different. The so-called overwhelming force can negate any technique, applies when one's strength reaches a particular level, effectively rendering skill irrelevant. Moreover, Wei Shanhai had also comprehended the existence of sword intention. If he were to use his innate true qi, the one to be crushed would be himself. However, Wei Shanhai had not given it his all just now. Had he already played his trump card? A fighting spirit emerged in Lu Qing's eyes. How could he prepare for his upcoming undertakings without truly fighting and experiencing the real power of the innate realm? Good, very good. Truly a peerless genius born before the great changes of heaven and earth. Only with such boldness can one be worthy of the title Child of Fate. Wei Shanhai felt Lu Qing's combativeness and was also stirred with high-spirited enthusiasm. He loudly applauded. Lu Qing smiled slightly. He always dismissed the so-called title of Child of Fate. He believed more in his own strength and the saber in his hand. Please enlighten me, Senior. Good. As the word good was uttered, a torrential and overwhelming momentum suddenly burst forth from Wei Shanhai's body. The incredibly dominant innate pressure materialized out of thin air and weighed down upon Lu Qing. On the hillside, Ma Gu and Wei Zian felt this pressure and immediately sank. Their legs went limp, and they couldn't help but fall to the ground, looking at the scene below with shock and growing concern for Lu Qing. Even at such a distance, having only been touched by a trace of the innate pressure was like having a great mountain bearing down on them, almost too much to bear. What kind of terrifying mental pressure then must Lu Qing, who was directly facing such oppression, be enduring? However, when the two saw Lu Qing's condition, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in surprise. Lu Qing appeared calm and showed not a trace of discomfort, as if the profound and ocean-like innate pressure was no more than a spring breeze on his face, not putting any pressure on him at all. Even Wei Shanhai was momentarily stunned. "Senior Wei, there's no need for these intangibles. The likes of momentum don't work on me," Lu Qing said with rare boastfulness, laughing loudly amidst his surging fighting will. "Very well, then take care." Although he did not know what secret technique Lu Qing had cultivated to completely withstand his innate pressure, Wei Shanhai did not wish to ponder these questions at the moment. He swung his long saber, and a red sword qi emerged, swiftly slashing towards Lu Qing. Lu Qing didn't even think. He met the sword qi with a slash of his own. Boom! After all, it was just sword qi condensed by true qi and naturally not as sturdy as a fine steel battle knife that had been forged and refined hundreds of times. Lu Qing easily dispersed it. But at the same time, Lu Qing felt his arm shake violently. The power of the sword qi was astonishing, causing a numbness in his arm. Swish, swish, swish. But it wasn't over yet. Wei Shanhai consecutively slashed several times, and multiple bands of red sword qi, tracing mysterious paths, intertwined as they flew towards Lu Qing. Can't my postnatal perfection physical body and qi blood power withstand sword qi attacks condensed by innate true qi? As the sword qi approached, a thought flashed in Lu Qing's mind. Then, perfect burst. As Lu Qing's thoughts shifted, the qi blood power within his body boiled instantly, and a powerful aura flashed by. In the next instant, the sword light flashed, and with a few crisp sounds, the several red bands of sword qi were already shattered by Lu Qing in a blink of an eye. Boom! After shattering the sword qi, Lu Qing forcefully stomped, shattering a large rock beneath him, and his figure shot toward Wei Shanhai like an arrow released from a bow. Standing still and taking hit after hit was not Lu Qing's style. He had yet to advance to innate and did not have the innate sword qi for long-range attacks. His only chance of victory was to engage Wei Shanhai in close-quarters combat. Deploying an explosive secret technique? Well done. Facing Lu Qing's assault, Wei Shanhai was not shocked but pleased, and he shouted loudly, delivering a saber strike reminiscent of one that could split mountains directly towards Lu Qing. This slash brought Lu Qing an oppressive feeling completely different from before. The mighty saber force completely enveloped him, and even before it erupted, the strength contained within the saber made Lu Qing feel a suffocating sensation. Is this the real power of the innate realm? Feeling the might of Wei Shanhai's saber and the faint sense of trepidation in his heart, Lu Qing harbored no trace of fear, but instead, infinite fighting spirit arose within him. Without a thought, his war saber danced in his hand, striking out at Wei Shanhai. He chose to counter with force once again. Chapter 268. Slightly at a disadvantage. Within the nameless valley, Lu Qing and Wei Shanhai were engaged in an indistinguishable fight. The splattering sword qi and strong energy carved crisscrossing cracks into the mud and sand of the riverbed within the valley. A frightening sight to behold. Atop the hillside, Ma Gu and Wei Zian were already dumbstruck, watching this scene in astonishment. Even Wei Shanhai could hardly believe what was happening in his heart. He hadn't expected that even after he had utilized his innate true qi, he still couldn't swiftly defeat Lu Qing. He had only managed to barely suppress him, gaining a slight advantage. Moreover, this advantage was not stable, for Lu Qing's resilience was extremely strong. Even when at a disadvantage, his saber technique remained fierce and unmatched. A moment of inattention could lead to an instant reversal by Lu Qing. Meanwhile, Wei Shanhai was also shocked by Lu Qing's physical strength. Logically speaking, a martial artist who had unleashed an explosive secret technique should rapidly deplete their strength, and their burst could certainly not be sustained for long. However, Lu Qing had been fighting him for so long without showing any signs of weakening. Even his breathing remained undisturbed, maintaining a frightening level of composure. It was unknown what kind of explosive secret technique Lu Qing had executed. Not only did the strength it erupted with surpass the normal, comparable to the initial innate realm, but its effects lasted so long, it was simply inconceivable. Do I also need to use a secret technique? As the fight dragged on without conclusion, such a thought suddenly popped into Wei Shanhai's mind. But he quickly dismissed this idea. It was a joke. As someone from the innate realm engaging in a friendly spar with a junior from the postnatal realm, it was tolerable not to take him down quickly, but to use a secret technique would be too much of an embarrassment. During the fluctuations of Wei Shanhai's thoughts, he and Lu Qing crossed blades once again. Bang! Another crisp sound. This time, however, it was not Wei Shanhai's sword qi that shattered. Instead, it was Lu Qing's war saber that could no longer endure the immense pressure and exploded instantly. His figure swayed slightly, dodging the scattered fragments of the war saber. He staggered back several steps. He looked at the saber hilt in his hand and Wei Shanhai's almost unscathed war saber, and sighed silently to himself. The qi blood power of the postnatal realm could not, after all, be compared to the innate true qi obtained from the refinement of heaven and earth primordial qi. Though he had tried his best to protect his war saber with qi blood power, it had still shattered due to the repeated clashes. In contrast, Wei Shanhai's war saber, empowered by innate true qi, had not suffered much damage. Young Master Lu, would you like to continue the spar? If I recall correctly, you have a self-forged divine weapon battle saber. Shall you retrieve it? Seeing Lu Qing's war saber shatter, Wei Shanhai also felt it was a pity. He was rather enjoying the fight. Lu Qing's sword intention was broader and deeper than his own. From sparring with Lu Qing, he faintly felt that his own sword intention was also showing signs of improvement. The sudden interruption left him feeling rather uncomfortable. "There's no need," said Lu Qing, shaking his head. "This battle has been greatly beneficial to me. It has given me quite an insight into the perplexities of my heart. Thank you, Senior Wei, for the opportunity." "Oh, you've had an insight?" Wei Shanhai asked with some surprise. "Have you glimpsed the path forward and felt the opportunity to step into the innate realm?" Knowing that Lu Qing had already achieved postnatal realm perfection, Wei Shanhai subconsciously assumed that Lu Qing's so-called bottleneck was the barrier between the postnatal realm and the innate realm. "That's right," nodded Lu Qing. "The path to the innate realm seems quite clear to me now. With some more accumulation, breaking through shouldn't be difficult." "Very good." Wei Shanhai felt extremely gratified that Lu Qing had gained something. It had not been in vain that he had accompanied him in training. "Senior Wei, how much of your strength did you employ when sparring with me earlier?" Lu Qing asked a very important question. "If we're talking about conventional strength, I had already given it my all. To continue fighting, I'm afraid I'd have to resort to using secret techniques to defeat you," replied Wei Shanhai truthfully. At the same time, his feelings were quite complex. His words were not mere courtesy. Indeed, he had almost exerted his full strength just before. Aside from not utilizing innate realm secret techniques, he had nearly pushed his innate true qi to its limit. Under normal circumstances, innate realm martial artists, even without using secret techniques, could easily crush any martial arts grandmaster at the peak of the internal organ realm with their innate true qi alone. But unexpectedly, Lu Qing proved to be fiercely powerful. With an explosive secret technique, he managed to unleash a force that was barely any weaker than his. Combined with even more refined saber technique, Wei Shanhai found himself unable to get the upper hand over Lu Qing in a short period of time. Realizing this and observing Lu Qing's aura, which still showed no sign of weakening, Wei Shanhai could not hold back any longer. He asked, "Young Master Lu, what was that secret technique you used just now? It's so formidable, it allowed you to burst forth with power comparable to that of the initial innate realm. It's a legacy I came across by chance. I have been cultivating it for a long time before achieving perfection," Lu Qing said vaguely. The perfect burst could be considered his own creation, the key being his exceptionally strong divine soul power. The divine soul talisman was one of Lu Qing's biggest trump cards. Even his master wasn't privy to it, so naturally, he wouldn't disclose it lightly. "I see." Upon hearing this, Wei Shanhai knew that Lu Qing did not wish to elaborate, so he tactfully refrained from probing further. "Ancestor, Dr. Lu Qing." At this moment, Wei Ziyan and Ma Gu also came down from the hillside, both with shocked expressions on their faces. Especially Wei Ziyan, who was extremely excited. Looking at Lu Qing with eyes full of admiration, he exclaimed, "Dr. Lu Qing, you're truly incredible, to be able to fight to a draw with the ancestor. It's just unbelievable. I dare not claim it was a draw. Didn't you see my saber shatter?" laughed Lu Qing. "If we continued, unarmed as I would be, I wouldn't stand a chance against Senior Wei's single move. Young master, you're being too modest. I only had a slight advantage with innate true qi. Had you used your own divine weapon battle saber, the outcome would be hard to say," objected Wei Shanhai. "Even with your divine weapon, I would still lose." As the group praised each other, they slowly left the valley. After emerging from the deep mountains and bidding farewell to Wei Shanhai and the others, Lu Qing returned home to rest and recover his strength. Then, he began to reflect on the insights from this sparring session. There was one thing that Lu Qing had deceived Wei Shanhai about. His wish to spar was not because his cultivation had hit a bottleneck. With his superpower, he naturally had an almost instinctual ability for sudden enlightenment. There was hardly any cultivation technique he couldn't comprehend. The line between the postnatal and innate, in his eyes, was already crystal clear, devoid of any confusion, readily crossed at any moment. It was just a certain intuition that had prevented him from taking that step until now. Lu Qing's real purpose for inviting Wei Shanhai to spar was to personally experience the power of the innate realm and to understand what made the innate realm so formidable, so he could have a reference for his future actions. Chapter 269, Estimating Strength, First Arrival at State Mansion City. The peak strength of the initial innate realm, I have grasped it temporarily, Lu Qing thought. The only difficult part to estimate is the power of an innate level secret technique. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, Lu Qing was deep in thought. Wei Shanhai, a seasoned innate realm expert, had long reached the pinnacle of the initial innate realm. However, it was his unfinished breakthrough in sword intention that kept him from stepping into the minor success realm of innateness. This time around, if Wei Shanhai wasn't being modest, Lu Qing could generally figure out the strength level of a martial artist in the initial innate realm who had comprehended the realm of will, without using any secret techniques. At the same time, he had made an estimation of his own strength. That is, after a perfect burst of power, he was already capable of directly confronting a martial artist at the pinnacle of the initial innate realm. Lu Qing wasn't too surprised by this result. Innate realm martial artists are undoubtedly powerful, having been nurtured by innate true qi and baptized by the heaven and earth laws. Even their physical strength alone is several times stronger than that of a common martial arts grandmaster at inner organs perfection. Plus, the mysterious nature of innate true qi makes a casual strike from an innate expert more fierce than a martial arts grandmaster using a secret technique in full force. But that's only relative to a typical martial arts grandmaster. Lu Qing was different. Having consumed earth vein spirit liquid, his own talent had been boosted to its limit. Even at inner organs perfection, his physical quality was much stronger than that of a typical martial arts grandmaster. Moreover, considering the enhancement from a perfect burst and the level of his saber technique, Lu Qing didn't feel too intimidated by martial artists of the initial innate realm. The sparring session this time confirmed his prediction. Like Elder Wei, without a strong, unique inheritance and relatively ordinary among peers at the pinnacle of the initial innate realm, he is hardly a threat to me without using secret techniques, Lu Qing pondered. As for using secret techniques, a mysterious gleam appeared in his eyes. If the innate realm came with secret techniques, did he not have any trump cards? During this sparring session with Wei Shanhai, the opponent had only used the regular power of the innate realm. But hadn't he only revealed a fraction of his own strength? His strongest trump cards had not been shown at all. According to Elder Wei, that Zheng family's ancestor is merely at the pinnacle of the initial innate realm. Moreover, he suffered severe injuries in his early years and had a significant loss of primordial qi. His strength is no longer at its peak. However, rumors are, after all, just rumors. It's best to see it with my own eyes. Although Wei Shanhai spoke with certainty, Lu Qing didn't completely trust the rumor. To ascertain the Zheng family ancestor's strength, he needed to see for himself. "Old lady, you wanted to lure me out, didn't you? Well, let's see if you can recognize me when I truly appear before you." A hint of cold light flowed in Lu Qing's eyes. Thinking of the old lady who seemed determined to capture him, an inexplicable killing intent surged within him. Without further delay, Lu Qing asked his master for a 2-day leave, saying he needed to go into the mountains. That very evening, after fully resting and bringing his physical state to its peak, Lu Qing quietly left the house. Once outside the village, his heart and spirit stirred slightly, activating the Earth Element Talisman Light Group in the space of his third eye acupoint, enhancing his body. With an incredibly light sensation, Lu Qing stepped swiftly and headed towards the direction of the state mansion. As it was night, in the wilderness it was rare to encounter anyone. Lu Qing hadn't encountered any accidents along the way and had successfully made it to the outskirts of the prefecture by spending most of the night. As expected of state mansion, these city walls are truly majestic, far surpassing those of the county. Looking at the giant city in front of him, crouching on the ground like a primordial beast under the night sky, Lu Qing felt a sense of awe. He didn't enter the city right away but found a spot to rest and recuperate before starting to condense an Earth Element Talisman. The State Mansion City was nearly 1,000 miles away from Jili Village, and after such a long journey, the light sphere representing the Earth Element Talisman in the space of his brow chakra had already dissipated. Thus, he needed to replenish it first. A quarter of an hour later, the Earth Element Talisman was successfully condensed. However, Lu Qing still didn't rush to enter the city. In this world, almost all cities would close their gates and prohibit entry during the night. At this moment, he had no knowledge of the situation in State Mansion City, and it was unwise to break into the city at night. Therefore, Lu Qing decided to wait until daylight to enter openly. After all, no one in the prefecture knew him, and even if he entered, no one would know his identity. Finding a large tree, Lu Qing jumped up and comfortably lay down on a thick branch, closed his eyes, and rested, waiting for dawn. As the sky gradually brightened and the eastern sunrise slowly rose, Lu Qing leisurely opened his eyes and smiled at the far-off sky. Today is really good weather. He took out some dry food and water from his Chenkuan Qi bag and had a hearty meal, feeling refreshed. Then, with a slight move of his mind, the muscles and bones on his body twisted and changed. In just tens of breaths, his appearance had drastically changed. Not only had his body become much thinner, but his face also turned into that of an ordinary rural youth. At the same time, the divine soul talisman in his brow chakra trembled slightly. The next moment, Lu Qing's aura was completely concealed, emitting a simple and honest vibe. With the help of the divine soul talisman, my bone and muscle changing technique can truly be described as miraculous. Not only can I change my appearance, but I can also freely mimic any bodily aura. Now, even if my master were before me, he would likely not recognize me at all. Lu Qing thought to himself. The divine soul talisman, as a fundamental cultivation method of the divine talisman sect, had many marvelous uses. Mimicking and changing one's own aura was naturally effortless. State Mansion City. I hope you can bring me some surprises. Having changed his appearance, Lu Qing looked towards the distant giant city with a hint of unusual brilliance in his eyes. Then he jumped down from the large tree and sprinted toward the city. Before long, Lu Qing arrived in front of the city. Seeing many people dressed simply, some even carrying burdens like they were going to the market, Lu Qing naturally blended in with them. At the city gate, Lu Qing found that in this city of state mansion, foreigners could enter the city without being checked. Direct entry was permitted without even paying a city entry fee. The soldiers guarding the gate just stood on either side, not inquiring about those who came and went. It seemed they were confident that no one would dare to cause trouble in such a vast prefecture city. As expected of a state mansion, truly impressive, Lu Qing silently praised, while also feeling delighted. The lack of identity checks was even better, making it more convenient for him. He strutted into the city, and as soon as he entered, Lu Qing was captivated by the bustling scene before him. Chapter 270. Rewards for Worship, Desire for the Incense of 10,000 People. Not bad for the state mansion city. Looking at the bustling scene before him, filled with carriages and horses, Lu Qing couldn't help but exclaim once more. This place was more than 10 times more prosperous than the county town. After marveling for a while, Lu Qing then started to stroll around. Of course, his strolling had a purpose. Soon, after spending a little money and supporting a few local vendors, he acquired the information he desired. You're talking about Zheng Mansion. It's over there in the west of the city. In the center of the prefecture, the largest family mansions are all in that area. Young man, are you also going there to offer condolences to the second young master Zheng and receive condolence money? A candy seller, after Lu Qing bought a couple of candied haws, eagerly answered his questions. Condolences? Lu Qing pretended to be clueless. No, I just heard that the Zheng family is the largest in the state mansion city, and I wanted to experience it for myself. Is that so, young man? You too must be a martial practitioner? The seller suddenly realized. But you've come at an inconvenient time. The Zheng's second young master was harmed by wicked people a few days ago, and now they are holding his funeral. I'm afraid they won't have time to entertain you. However, if you are here to offer condolences, you should be able to enter. The funeral of second young master Zheng is being held very grandly. It is said by Zheng Mansion that any citizen of the state mansion city who comes to mourn and pray for the second young master will receive 100 copper coins as a reward. I went yesterday, paid my respects to the second young master, and really received the reward money. There's such a good opportunity? Then I shall also go pay my respects. Seeing the seller's expression of scoring a great deal, Lu Qing also surprisedly said. After leaving the stall, Lu Qing's expression became calm, and a hint of mockery appeared in his eyes. To have millions pray for him, does he really deserve that? Following the candy seller's directions, Lu Qing soon arrived at the western part of the city. Upon reaching there, he noticed the difference. Compared to other bustling areas, this side of the city was much quieter. However, the buildings were also much more majestic. They were mostly huge mansions occupying extensive land. Only the real wealthy could afford to live in such places. Lu Qing took a few glances and soon identified the Zheng Mansion among the several largest ones. Because only that mansion was surrounded by white silk and echoed with mournful music. Lu Qing slowly approached the mansion, encountering many ordinary people along the way who were returning from the direction of Zheng Mansion with smiles on their faces. Clearly, they were just what the candy seller had described, citizens who went to Zheng Mansion to pray for condolence money. As he walked, he observed the surroundings. Finally, he looked up several times at a tall tower in the middle of the city. Stop! What is your business here? As he approached the gates of Zheng Mansion, guards stopped Lu Qing. I am called Lin and, from Jizhou, traveling through Tsang State. I heard that the Zheng's second young master was harmed by a villain, and felt deeply saddened, and wished to go in for a visit of mourning. May I? Lu Qing effortlessly fabricated an identity for himself. So it is Hero Lin. Since you are here to mourn the second young master, naturally you may enter. The two men briefly examined Lu Qing, and although his appearance was ordinary, they could sense fluctuations of Qi blood power from him, at least of Qi blood perfection level. Without further doubt, they courteously said, events like this had already occurred many times. After all, the Zheng family was a major household in the entire Tsang state, well known everywhere. Every day, countless people wanted to join their ranks. If it were any other day, a Qi blood realm martial artist with low cultivation like Lu Qing naturally wouldn't be able to enter the Zheng mansion. But as the mansion was currently holding the funeral for the second young master, the ancestral matriarch had ordered that no matter who came to mourn, none should be prevented. She wanted her Yuer to enjoy the worship of the masses, the incense offerings, to accumulate virtue so that even in the afterlife, he could enjoy eternal glory. Regarding the matriarch's decision, Zheng family naturally dared not disobey. Even to fulfill the matriarch's wish, they used money to entice city residents to come and pay their respects. Thus, Lu Qing smoothly entered into Zheng Mansion. Following the guidance of the servants at Zheng Mansion, he arrived at the location of the ancestral hall. At that time, in the ancestral hall, a number of people were lining up to pay their respects. Judging by their attire, most seemed to be residents of the city, here for the money offer. While it wasn't yet his turn, Lu Qing began discreetly examining the situation inside the ancestral hall. The most eye-catching feature in the ancestral hall was the enormous coffin placed squarely in the center. It was unknown what kind of wood it was made from, inlaid with gold and jade, extremely luxurious. Clearly, the Zheng family wanted Zheng Yu to continue enjoying richness and honor even in the underworld. Near the coffin, there were several strong presences lying in ambush, obviously arranged by the Zheng mansion to guard the coffin. However, Lu Qing was not concerned about these guards. What really interested him was the figure seated next to the coffin. It was an ancient, decrepit figure, her face as wrinkly as tree bark, sitting there with a wooden expression. Looking frail, Lu Qing nevertheless felt a powerful aura emanating from her. This must be that old woman, right? Lu Qing quietly activated his superpowers, observing her covertly. Soon, a faint superpower light of gold emerged from the old woman's body, with several words floating out. Quietly finishing reading the words, Lu Qing's eyelids drooped, ceasing to observe the other party. The perception of an innate realm expert is very sharp, and even though he was concealing his own presence, focusing his gaze on her for too long could easily get him discovered. However, as he lowered his head, remembering the words he just read, Lu Qing could not help but feel a chill rise in his eyes. This old woman, truly killing her was not enough to quench his anger. City Lord Mansion, Manager Wang is here. Just as Lu Qing was waiting, suddenly a loud voice echoed. Not only did it stir the crowd paying respects, but even the always wooden-faced old woman showed a slight change in expression, lifting her head with a hint of surprise. Very soon, a plainly dressed, straight-postured, square-faced, middle-aged man entered and bowed to the old woman. This time, the old woman did not continue sitting motionlessly. Instead, she stood up and slightly bowed back. Mrs. Zhang, Manager Wang is here by the orders of the City Lord, representing the City Lord Mansion to offer condolences for second young Master Zhang. The square-faced, middle-aged man said solemnly. The City Lord is thoughtful. This old body will remember this favor in heart, the old woman said mildly. Soon, incense candles were offered, and the square-faced, middle-aged man paused to pay respects and insert the candles afterward. He then approached her again and bowed, saying, Mrs. Zhang, the City Lord also has a few words he instructed me to convey to you. May I ask if we could step aside to talk? The old woman quietly looked at him for a few moments, ultimately nodding. Please, Manager Wang, follow me. Good opportunity. Seeing the old woman and the square-faced, middle-aged man leave the ancestral hall, Lu Qing felt a slight stir in his heart and also quietly walked outside. He was here only to confirm old lady Zheng's strength and condition, not truly to pay respects to scum like Zheng Yu. After leaving the ancestral hall, Lu Qing walked out of Zheng Mansion unaffectedly. The guards at the gate saw him leave and did not stop him. In their eyes, a martial artist like Lu Qing having the opportunity to enter the mansion to offer respects to the second young master might leave a lasting impression with the ancestors. They would be grateful rather than interfere. Who would have thought? This guy just wandered around the ancestral hall and slipped out. Out of Zheng Mansion, Lu Qing didn't linger, heading straight to the tower he had previously seen. This tower was probably a landmark of State Mansion City. At that moment, the tower was closed off, with doors locked up, and no one inside. However, that wasn't going to stop Lu Qing. With slight movement in his feet, he easily jumped to the top of the tower in a few leaps. This place truly offers a unique view and its position is also excellent. Standing on the top of the nearly 40-meter-high tower, Lu Qing felt as if he could almost see the entire western area of the city. More importantly, quite coincidentally, this tower was directly facing Zheng Mansion a few hundred meters away. After enjoying the view from the tower for a while, Lu Qing's gaze towards Zheng Mansion gradually grew cold. With a slight movement of his heart and spirit, a longbow appeared in his hands. Chapter 271. An arrow shatters the coffin, driving to madness. Treasure bow, you've been in my hands for nearly 2 years now. At last, you can show your edge today. Atop the high tower, Lu Qing gently stroked the longbow in his hands, reminiscing about how he first came across this treasure bow. This longbow wasn't forged by him but discovered by little Li on a trip to gather herbs in the mountains 2 years ago. The location of its discovery was near the nameless valley where he and Wei Shanhai sparred yesterday. Later, he learned that this treasure bow likely belonged to Tong Zonglong, a disciple of Wang Zongyi who was in pursuit of Ma Gu. In his haste to chase down Ma Gu, Tong Zonglong had no choice but to temporarily hide his encumbering treasure bow on a tree. He planned to retrieve it after killing Ma Gu, but unexpectedly, he was slain by Lu Qing. The location of the treasure bow became unknown to all. If it weren't for little Li's miraculous intuition, who happened upon that part of the forest while gathering herbs with Lu Qing and found this longbow, it might have been corroded by the rain and ruined in another 2 years. After acquiring the longbow, Lu Qing used his superpower to investigate and discovered it to be a rare treasure bow. Its main parts were all made from the materials of a mutant beast known as the white-horned barbaric bull. Under the examination of his superpower, amidst the intensely vivid red light, there was a hint of gold, suggesting signs of a divine weapon. With such a treasure bow, Lu Qing didn't want to waste it, so he asked the Wei family to obtain a few arrow technique secret manuals for him to cultivate. Then, with the assistance of his superpower, he adeptly integrated the manuals and cultivated his arrow skill to the Grandmaster realm. After later comprehending the realm of will, his arrow skill also progressed, and he likewise grasped the essence of arrow will. Old witch, you think you can allow that scum Zhang Yu to enjoy the reverence of thousands? It won't be that simple. Is it not just a strategy to strike at the heart? I'm not the only one who understands this trick. Gazing out at the Zheng Mansion some hundreds of meters away, Lu Qing had a determined look in his eyes. He took a deep breath. The divine soul talisman within his brow chakra minutely vibrated, suppressing all of his emotions, leaving his heart and spirit clear and bright. He then took out a treasure arrow, which he had personally forged using refined iron as the main material, from his Chenkuan Qi bag. Drawing the bow and placing the arrow, the bow was like a full moon, poised to release. Lu Qing's Qi blood surged tumultuously within him, like a blazing furnace, containing formidable strength. Yet all these fluctuations of aura were easily concealed by the divine soul talisman, drawing no one's attention. Everything was ready, but Lu Qing still didn't immediately release the string. Instead, he closed his eyes slightly and emptied his heart and spirit, sensing the flow of air currents around him. After sensing for several breaths, suddenly, his eyes snapped open with a flash of sharpness, fixing his gaze on the Zheng Mansion ahead. In the next instant, his Qi blood erupted, and his fingers relaxed. With a loud bang, the air exploded in front of Lu Qing, and the shadow of the arrow vanished from the bow. Boom! Almost at the same moment, a thunderous noise erupted from the spirit hall in the Zheng Mansion. Accompanied by it were bursts of shock and cries of hysteria. It was only then that a long stream of mist appeared before Lu Qing, connecting the space between him and the Zheng Mansion, slowly dispersing. What's that noise? The old woman Zhang, who had been conversing with Manager Wang from the City Lord Mansion in the garden, was startled by the loud noise from the spirit hall. She could not bother with Manager Wang any longer, her aura bursting forth. In the span of a breath, she had already reached the spirit hall. But the scene before her was something she could hardly believe. The previously intact ancestral hall was now a complete mess, thrown into utter chaos. Most importantly, the luxurious coffin that had held Yuer had been blasted to pieces, along his corpse, which had also been blown to smithereens, leaving no bone intact. Staring at the shattered coffin on the ground, old woman Zhang felt a darkness before her eyes and her body swayed slightly, almost unable to stand steady. Following closely, Manager Wang arrived and was similarly wide-eyed upon seeing the scene. He couldn't understand why he and the ancestor of Zheng family had only left for a moment, and the ancestral hall had turned into this state. Who did this? Fortunately, as an innate realm expert, old woman Zhang possessed a strong will and immense power of the heart and spirit, which she used to forcefully stabilize her body. Meanwhile, an endless chill erupted from her body. Her gaze was ice-cold, seemingly ready to devour someone. Ancestor, we don't know either. Young Master Yu's coffin just suddenly exploded. One guard cried out with a mournful face, clutching his arm. He was one of the guards responsible for protecting the coffin, and when the coffin had burst apart, he was too slow to dodge, and a wooden plank had injured his arm. But by now, his arm was the least of his concerns. As a guard, not knowing how young Master Yu's coffin was damaged was inexcusable. He could already foresee his fate to come. Recalling the fate of his colleagues who had failed to protect young Master Yu before, the guard was filled with endless fear. As expected, old woman Zheng's gaze turned even colder when she heard that he didn't even know how the coffin was destroyed. Mother, someone has attacked from a distance, with a bow and arrow, look! Just then, the figure of the Zheng family master emerged from behind the ancestral hall and spoke in a serious tone. He handed a long arrow to the old woman. Just now this 1,000 refinement arrow flew in from outside the mansion, striking directly young Master Yu's coffin, destroying both the coffin and his corpse before embedding in the wall behind the ancestral hall. Zheng family master's voice carried shock. He was somewhat at a loss as to what kind of arrow skill could have such formidable power to shoot such a strong coffin to pieces from such a distance. If this arrow had not been aimed at Zheng Yu's coffin, but at the people inside the mansion, he feared that, apart from the ancestor, no one would have been able to withstand it. An arrow was used, which means the person is still in the city? However, old woman Zheng's focus was entirely different from that of Zheng family master. Seeing the long arrow handed over by her son, murderous intent surfaced in her eyes, and her aura erupted as she vanished from the ancestral hall. In an instant, she appeared on the highest roof within the mansion, her gaze sweeping in all directions. Soon, she saw streaks of white mist in the sky that were about to dissipate completely. Following the direction of the mist, she saw the figure standing atop a high tower. "It's you!" Seeing the figure holding a longbow, old woman Zhang instantly knew it was he who had destroyed her grandson's coffin and corpse. Upon being discovered by the old woman, Lu Qing revealed a crooked smile. "Old witch, didn't you go to great lengths to draw me out? Well, now I'm standing before you, what can you do to me? You wanted to use a living sacrifice to accompany your grandson in burial, hoping for thousands to worship and bless him? Now that I've completely annihilated his corpse, ensuring he'll never find peace in death, what can you do to me? You little beast! You're courting death. I swear, if I don't kill you today, I am not a human being." Hearing Lu Qing's heart-piercing questions, old woman Zheng's rage exploded, and she screamed maniacally. Chapter 272: Mockery and Escape. "You little beast! Today, I will kill you and avenge my Yuer." Old woman Zheng's eyes turned bloodshot as she stared intensely at Lu Qing, wishing she could tear him to pieces. A powerful innate pressure rose from her body, rolling toward Lu Qing, trying to pin him to the spot. What is that old hag ranting about now? As the innate pressure emerged from old woman Zheng, other powerful beings in the city were instantly alarmed. Moreover, her venomous shout that almost reverberated throughout the city caused several powerful beings to be taken aback. They hurriedly left their mansions and rushed toward the Zheng mansion. Meanwhile, at the tower, under the terrifying innate pressure, Lu Qing wasn't affected in the slightest. He drew his bow and shot an arrow straight at the old woman. Whoosh! The piercing whistling sound filled the air as the arrow instantly pierced through the space and arrived in front of old woman Zheng. What? Old woman Zheng was startled, not expecting Lu Qing to display such formidable arrow skills under her innate pressure. She could not sense the innate essence that only innate realm martial artists possess emanating from Lu Qing. It was clear that he had not yet entered the innate realm. Since he was not an innate realm fighter, it should have been impossible for him not to be affected by her innate pressure. Yet he still managed to launch such a fierce arrow. The thought had barely formed when the arrow already reached her. The unexpected shot left old woman Zhang unprepared, making it almost too late to dodge. Of course, she hadn't thought about dodging. How could she, standing before Lu Qing, who harbored deep-seated hatred from killing her grandson, possibly cower and weaken her own momentum? With a trace of disdain on her face, innate true qi surged within the old woman's body, and she swung her dragon-head cane at the incoming arrow. Boom! Faced with the dragon-head cane, charged with innate true qi, Lu Qing's sharp arrow, although fiercely shot, still couldn't prevail against it and was smashed away. However, the force encapsulated in the arrow was no joke. Old woman Zhang stood on the rooftop, which could not bear such mighty force, and immediately cracked, creating a large hole that caused her to plunge and raise a cloud of dust. You little beast! Old woman Zhang was a mixture of shock and rage. She hadn't expected that she, a dignified innate realm expert, would be put into such a disheveled state by a postnatal realm junior with just a move. What she found even more unbearable was that this person was the one she despised the most. Ha ha ha, true to an innate realm expert, it didn't kill you. Since that's the case, I won't entertain you any longer. Chase me if you can. Lu Qing could sense that the arrow hadn't really harmed the old woman. He wasn't surprised. The tower was hundreds of meters away from the Zhang mansion. From such a distance, if his one arrow could hurt her, the innate realm wouldn't be much either. Of course, he could have shot a few more arrows to make her situation worse. But there was no point. Not to mention the preciousness of the 1,000 refinement treasure arrows. He didn't have many left. But now he sensed several strong presences rushing this way. In the face of unknown friends or foes, he felt it better not to linger. So after blasting the old woman off the rooftop with one arrow and taunting her, he didn't hesitate for a moment, jumped down, and vanished from the top of the tower. You little beast! Thinking of escaping? How could old woman Zhang possibly let Lu Qing leave? Seeing Lu Qing disappear atop the tower, panic surged in her heart. Without a second thought, her figure shot out like an arrow, rushing toward the tower. At the same time, she utilized her divine soul sensing ability, fully concentrating on sensing Lu Qing's aura to prevent her escape. However, just as she left the Zhang mansion and was still hundreds of meters away from the tower, she suddenly found that Lu Qing's aura had vanished, and she could no longer sense it. How could this be? Old woman Zhang abruptly stopped, her eyes revealing a look of disbelief. How could that little beast have escaped the range of her divine soul power sensing without a trace? Was it a secret technique or an exotic treasure? Just as the old woman could not believe her eyes, suddenly, Lu Qing's aura appeared again. But this time, it was much farther away, almost escaping the range of her divine soul sensing. Moreover, the direction she was fleeing in was toward the city gates. You little beast! You won't escape! A surge of joy filled old woman Zhang's heart. Without thinking, she immediately pursued in that direction. Regardless of whether Lu Qing used a secret technique or an exotic treasure to temporarily conceal her aura, what she knew was that if she missed this opportunity, she might never be able to find that little beast again. That little beast had clearly seen through the intentions behind the rumors she spread and was exceedingly cunning. If he managed to escape the prefecture this time, he would likely flee far away and hide. The speed of an innate realm expert is incredibly fast. Old woman Zhang, propelled by innate true qi and her movement technique, quickly narrowed the distance between her and Lu Qing. Just when she was about 100 meters away from Lu Qing, she once again found that Lu Qing's aura had disappeared. But this time, with her previous experience, she kept running forward, regardless of everything. She was certain the little beast was trying to escape from the city. If she could reach the city gates before him, he would have no chance to escape. Interesting, have you noticed? Just as Lu Qing concealed his aura with a divine soul talisman and noticed the old woman charging straight toward him without hesitation, realizing she had seen through his plan to leave the city and intended to catch him at the city gates, this was precisely what he wanted. as he worried the old woman might be too foolish to notice. But, is it so easy to catch me at the city gates? With a thought, Lu Qing activated the light representing the earth element talisman in the space of his brow chakra. A wisp of light and odd power enveloped him, boosting his speed significantly, matching that of old woman Zhang behind him. Unbeknownst to her, although the state mansion city was large, it was also heavily populated. Though she was only 100 meters away from Lu Qing, in the context of his chosen path of escape, countless houses stood between them. The two could only know each other's location through their divine soul-sensing ability, but in reality, they couldn't see each other at all. With the power of the earth element talisman supporting him, Lu Qing's speed was also extremely fast. Soon, he reached the city gates and, without thinking twice, dashed straight out. The guards and the people entering and exiting the city barely caught a glimpse of his figure, only feeling a gust of wind as a silhouette rushed past and out of the city. Huff! As everyone was still stunned, suddenly another figure appeared at the city gate, emitting a terrifying aura that made everyone tremble. Where is he? Old woman Zhang arrived at the city gate, her eyes scanning around fiercely, but she could not see Lu Qing anywhere. Could that little beast have escaped back into the city? Just as this thought arose in her heart, she noticed the unusual expressions of the people at the city gate. Her mind raced, and though she was reluctant to believe it, she still grabbed a guard by the arm. Tell me, did a little beast just rush out of the city? Reply to the martial artist, sir, in just a few moments ago, indeed, a figure dashed out of the city, but this servant couldn't see his face. Under old woman Zhang's icy glare, the guard trembled, stammering out his reply. At the same time, old woman Zhang sensed that the little beast's aura had appeared again. Shockingly, it was actually outside the city. Chapter 273. Various calculations. Cutting off the arm with one knife. He actually escaped the city? How could he be so fast? Sensing Lu Qing's presence outside the city, old woman Zhang was filled with shock and anger. All this way, she hadn't stopped for a moment, fully driving her movement technique towards the city gates. That brat actually managed to get ahead of her and escape the city? Just then, old woman Zhang sensed that Lu Qing's presence had suddenly weakened a lot, as if he had suffered a serious injury. Let's see how you escape now. Old woman Zhang was overjoyed in her heart. How could she not realize that the brat must have used some secret technique that drained his body to get out of the city before her? Otherwise, how could a postnatal realm possibly outpace her, an innate realm expert in speed? But a secret technique capable of exploding with innate realm speed must have its costs when used. Now that the brat's presence had greatly diminished, it must have been the end of the secret technique's duration, and the side effects had erupted. Making her judgment, old woman Zhang didn't even think about it. She flung away the guard in her hand and rushed out of the city. If she hesitated any longer, she was afraid the brat would use that technique to hide his presence and continue playing hide and seek with her like a mouse. After chasing for a while, the old woman figured it out. The brat's technique to hide his presence probably couldn't be maintained continuously and had a certain time limit. Otherwise, he could just continuously hide his presence and find someplace to hide. With his cunning, within the vast Songzhou prefecture city, even she would find it extremely difficult to track him again. As old woman Zhang rushed out of the city, the guard she had thrown smashed heavily onto the ground, immediately bleeding profusely from his head. If he hadn't had some martial skills and achieved small success in bone marrow, that fall might have killed him. Old Chun, are you all right? His colleague, who had been cowering to one side, quickly stepped forward to help him up. I'm fine. It's just that half of my life is already gone. Old Chun showed a bitter smile, feeling his chi blood dissipating and his inner organs faintly aching. Knowing that he must have suffered internal injuries and would need at least 10 days to half a month to recover fully. That person just now was that the Zheng family's old ancestress, right? Who is it that has made her so angry? His colleague hadn't finished speaking when suddenly, his body stiffened. Once again, he saw several figures emanating powerful auras appearing before the city gate. One of them he was quite familiar with. City Lord? Old Chun was equally shocked, stuttering. "You're injured. Who did this?" Although the city lord didn't recognize Old Chun and his friend, seeing their attire, he knew they were city gate guards. Reporting to the city lord, it was an old lady holding a dragon-headed cane. Seeing the city lord so kindly concerned about him, Old Chun, moved, respectfully answered. Although he harbored resentment towards that old woman, he still dared not speak rudely. "It really was her," said an elegant old man. "Young fellow, do you know why that old lady wanted to leave the city?" "I'm not entirely sure, but that old lady seemed to be chasing someone. A figure had dashed out of the city earlier, and she rushed after him, directly calling him a brat, as if she hated him deeply." Old Chun briefly explained the situation just now. A brat? The elegant old man and the others exchanged glances, somewhat surprised. Who was it who provoked that old lady to such anger, making her use innate pressure in the city and even chase directly out of the city? As the events had unfolded too quickly, the few innate realm experts were still unclear about what had happened at Zheng Mansion. Again, as they were too far behind, they had failed to sense Lu Qing's presence. For a moment, they were all puzzled by the situation in front of them. "Humph. Whatever the reason, won't we know once we catch up?" City Lord harumphed. "Old Lady Zhang has repeatedly used her innate pressure brazenly throughout the city, and this time even injured the city gate guards. Last time, I overlooked it due to her grandson's death. But does she truly think that Songzhou Prefecture City has no rules? All right, let's go up and see what exactly is happening." The refined elderly men, knowing the city lord was getting angry. In the State Mansion City, several families of the innate realm, always had a mutual restraint and some opposition with the city lord mansion. Now that the old hag was repeatedly breaking the rules, it naturally aroused his displeasure. The group used their movement techniques and also headed outside the city, leaving only the people at the city gate, looking at each other, not understanding what had happened inside the city to even disturb the city lord. "You little beast, I'll see where you can escape to." Just as the refined elders left the city gate, about 10 miles from State Mansion City, old woman Zheng finally caught sight of Lu Qing's figure again. In her joy, she also felt secretly shocked. The resilience of this little beast was frightfully stubborn. Chasing from the State Mansion City, he had used that bizarre technique to conceal his chi blood multiple times. If it weren't for the open space outside the city and the clear footprints on the ground, she might have really let the little beast escape. But by this time, her heart had somewhat settled, because she felt that, after this chase, the chi blood of that little beast had weakened significantly once again, and his speed had greatly decreased, even his figure staggering. Clearly, he was at the end of his strength. It wouldn't take a few moments for her to catch up to him. Seemingly realizing he could no longer escape, old woman Zheng saw the figure ahead suddenly stop, leaning against a big rock, gasping for breath, drenched in sweat, his gaze vicious, staring intensely at her. "Run, why aren't you running? Little beast, where can you run to now?" Seeing that Lu Qing had finally stopped, old woman Zheng was in no hurry. She also stopped her movement technique and slowly walked forward. Seeing the viciousness in Lu Qing's eyes, her heart felt incredibly gratified. "Little beast, don't rush. Wait till I chop off your limbs and slowly torture you. I hope you can keep up this ferocity. Otherwise, it would be too boring," old woman Zhang said with a smile on her face. Yet her words were exceptionally cruel. She loathed Lu Qing to the bone and would not let him die easily. She wanted to capture him and torture him endlessly, to vent the hatred in her heart. Just as she had done to that temptress years ago, who had bewitched her eldest son and led to his death. Lu Qing, silent, just kept glaring fiercely at the old woman. But this made the old woman's heart even more gratified. With a cruel smile, she lightly tapped her dragon head cane, and several transparent strong energies appeared, aiming to cripple Lu Qing's limbs. However, just as the strong energies were about to ruin Lu Qing's limbs, suddenly, Lu Qing revealed a brilliant smile. The big rock behind him burst apart, and his figure suddenly vanished from the spot. When he reappeared, he was less than 2 meters in front of the old woman. Whoosh! A dazzling, bright sword light flared. A wrinkled, bark-like arm fell to the ground, accompanied by a sentence. Old hag, who did you say you were going to chop the limbs off of? Chapter 274. Battle with the innate, sever the limbs. This is impossible. Old woman Zhang, clutching her severed arm, looked at Lu Qing with disbelief. At this moment, where was there a trace of the previous fatigue and weakness in Lu Qing? The strong aura emanating from his entire body, the surging power of qi and blood, was so oppressive that even she, an innate realm expert, felt a sense of suffocation. You little beast! Who on earth are you? Old woman Zhang couldn't help but ask sternly. The shock in her heart had surpassed the pain of her severed arm. How could she not know that Lu Qing's previous weakness was feigned? But she also found it hard to understand why Lu Qing was so powerful. Clearly not an innate realm expert, yet he was able to unleash such a terrifying force. That strike just now came too fast, and she had almost no time to react. If it weren't for the divine soul instinct of an innate realm martial artist, which allowed her to turn her body at the last moment, she would probably be more than just an arm short by now. She would be cleaved in two. Moreover, she had seen very clearly that Lu Qing was unarmed just now and did not carry a weapon. So where did the long saber, now revealing a terrifying sharp edge in his hand, come from? Could it be that he had premeditated this, hiding the weapon behind Ashur, and had calculated that she would pursue him at this moment? If that was the case, the craftiness of this little beast was simply too terrifying. A series of thoughts and guesses flooded old woman Zhang's mind in an instant, chilling her heart even more. This question, you'll have time to find out when you're down underground. Lu Qing, however, had no interest in answering this question. Having landed a successful strike, he well understood the principle of striking at one's weak moment to take their life. The old witch might have lost an arm to his blade, but her cultivation remained, and she was still a formidable enemy not to be underestimated. His elaborate plans had lured this old witch out of the city, not for a friendly chat. Thus, without the slightest hesitation, Lu Qing took advantage of the old woman's moment of mental instability and fiercely struck again, a bright sword light slashing toward her once more. You little beast, don't be smug. Even if you caught me off guard and I lost an arm, the ancestor of the Zheng family can still kill you. Having experienced Lu Qing's cunning and ruthless tactics, old woman Zhang understood that this was a life-and-death moment. If she held anything back, she feared she might truly meet her end here today. Without hesitation, the innate true qi within her body circulated in a strange trajectory, fiercely stimulating the acupoints all over her body. The aura on her body suddenly doubled. Meanwhile, her intact right hand gripped the dragon-headed cane tightly and violently struck at Lu Qing. Clang! The dragon-headed cane blocked Lu Qing's long saber, forcing him to retreat several steps. Innate level burst secret method? Feeling the sudden increase in the old witch's aura, Lu Qing understood in his heart. He was not completely ignorant of the innate level burst secret method. After all, in his mind, he possessed a top-tier innate realm legacy. Of course, it also included the inheritance of secret techniques. To be strict, the innate level burst secret method wasn't fundamentally different from the postnatal realm's qi blood burst secret method. Both relied on the body's internal energy to stimulate various vital acupoints, unlocking potential to obtain greater power in a short period of time. Just that innate realm experts, when stepping into the innate realm, are baptized by the heaven and earth laws, their physical bodies having undergone a transformation and enhancement once. Ordinary qi blood power is already insufficient to stimulate the physical body. Only by circulating innate true qi and stimulating crucial acupoints can one continue to unleash the body's potential. Moreover, innate level burst secret methods vary in strength. Normal secret techniques can at most double one's own strength, and those that achieve a twofold effect are already considered outstanding secret techniques. As for those exceeding twofold effects, they are extremely precious. Even within those top sect forces, they are few and highly valued. After all, a good innate level explosive secret technique can allow an innate realm expert to instantly burst forth with several times their power. At critical moments, it can be life-saving and thus truly a life-saving secret method. In Lu Qing's previous estimation of the Zheng family's ancestors' strength, the only uncertainty was the extent of power her explosive secret technique held. Now feeling that her aura had only increased by about double, he knew that this old woman possessed only the most ordinary explosive secret technique. In that case, things just got a lot simpler. A trace of coldness appeared in Lu Qing's eyes. With a thought, a golden sphere of light that had been slowly revolving around the divine soul talisman within his brow suddenly shimmered, and a strange power immediately surged from the acupoint on his forehead, augmenting Lu Qing. Benefiting from this strange power's augmentation, a barely discernible golden light flashed over Lu Qing's body. He then felt an immensely powerful force surging from within. Yet, under his overwhelmingly strong divine soul power, it was perfectly controlled. Gold Element Talisman, Vajra Great Power Talisman. Feeling the powerful force coursing through him, Lu Qing hesitated not a moment, stomping his foot on the ground, shattering it, and charged at the Zheng family's ancestor once again. Complex as it sounds, everything had happened in the blink of an eye. From the old woman Zheng using an innate realm secret technique to repel Lu Qing, to Lu Qing employing the magic talisman to charge again, at most only a single breath had passed. The old woman Zheng, having seen Lu Qing repelled by her strike, was already greatly relieved. Knowing that no matter how cunning Lu Qing was, with his plethora of secret techniques, he was ultimately postnatal realm. Even with one arm severed in terms of strength, she still held an absolute advantage. Seeing Lu Qing attacking once more, a hint of disdain appeared in her eyes. Little beast, today I'll let you experience what true innate realm power is. With innate true qi coursing through her, the old woman once again unleashed a sophisticated staff technique aimed straight for Lu Qing's chest. This time, the old woman held nothing back. With one move, she intended to destroy Lu Qing completely. Facing the old woman's all-out strike, Lu Qing did not retreat but stood firm, slashing out with his war saber. Boom! Saber and staff collided straightforwardly. The powerful impact shattered the flowers and plants on the ground around them, whipping up a fierce wind and lifting countless fragments of rock. In the violent clash, a withered figure spewed blood profusely and was sent flying backward. The dragon-headed cane in her hand was knocked from her grasp, flying high into the air. Swish! 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 Having sent the old woman Zheng flying with one slash, Lu Qing didn't pause. With forceful steps, he caught up to her mid-air and with lightning-fast sword strikes, he severed the old woman's remaining limbs. Ah! Such immense pain, even an innate realm expert could hardly bear. Finally, the old woman Zheng couldn't help but let out a sky-shaking scream. At the same time, several miles away, the elegantly dressed elder and others who were hurrying in this direction all changed their expressions upon hearing the scream, speeding up their movement techniques even more. Chapter 275. Punish the Heart. Execute. Bang! The old woman from the Zheng family slammed against a large tree and once again spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. At the same time, blood continued to pour out from the severed limbs. But it has to be said, the life energy of the innate realm is indeed strong. Even having sustained such serious injuries, the old woman did not die, nor did she fall unconscious. The first thing she did was to activate the remaining innate true qi within her body, sealing the acupoints of her limbs to prevent herself from bleeding to death. So you're afraid of dying too? I thought you were really so fearless that you didn't even fear death. Lu Qing's voice sounded, faint and full of mockery. Old woman Zheng lifted her head to look at Lu Qing. Her eyes were filled with more than just resentment. Little beast, what kind of monster are you? Her heart was filled with shock and disbelief. She couldn't believe that she was crushed so completely by a postnatal realm martial artist in a clash of pure strength. The previous slash from Lu Qing was unstoppable, and the force was so ferocious it was ridiculous. She, a mighty figure of the innate realm, could not defend against it at all. Not only was her proud divine weapon sent flying, but her inner organs were also heavily injured. Is this really the strength that a postnatal realm martial artist should possess? What kind of terrifying monster is this little beast? Old woman Zhang stared intently at Lu Qing. At this moment, under the shattered state of her martial heart, even the hatred for her grandson was temporarily cast aside in her mind. She only wanted to know Lu Qing's true identity. I've said before, if you want to know who I am, go find the answer in the underworld, Lu Qing said indifferently. Do you know why I didn't kill you immediately? The reason is actually very simple. It's just to let you experience a fraction of the pain that the girl back then had endured. Upon hearing this, old woman Zheng's eyes widened in an instant. Are you a relative of that little wench from back then? In her mind, the image of the enthralling woman who had seduced her eldest son suddenly emerged. The same woman who had been mutilated by her, having her limbs chopped off, tormented beyond recognition, and ultimately sealed by her into her son's burial site to accompany him in death. Suddenly, she thought she could laugh, believing that she had finally found something to use to mock and counter Lu Qing. However, Lu Qing's next words wedged themselves in her throat. Not really. Lu Qing shook his head. I'm just an ordinary person who couldn't stand seeing you, not related to her at all. And your precious grandson, I just killed him on the way when destroying a 7 Killings Tower stronghold. I had no grudge against him. I simply found him annoying. Anyway, in my eyes, he was nothing more than an insect, easily crushed. Oh, and by the way, you are the same right now. Hearing Lu Qing's incredibly humiliating words, comparing herself to an insect, old woman Zhang could no longer restrain herself. She glared at Lu Qing with immense hatred, her teeth grinding together with a sound, appearing as if she wanted to devour him alive. Facing the old woman's frightening demeanor, Lu Qing's expression didn't change in the slightest. He continued in an unhurried tone. By the way, I've destroyed your beloved grandson's corpse, denying him reincarnation and spiritual liberation. Maybe after this, I should go destroy your beloved son's grave as well, and free that poor woman's soul. You little beast dare. Old woman Zheng's face drastically changed upon hearing this. She glared deadly at Lu Qing, her face full of resentment. If you dare to destroy my son's grave, even if I become a ghost, I will not let you off. I will turn into a fierce ghost and haunt you forever, making sure you die a terrible death. Do you think you'll still get the chance to become a ghost? Lu Qing's face displayed a hint of mockery. Old hag, you should feel lucky that I'm not too interested in tormenting people. Otherwise, I would definitely have you experience the agony that woman endured. However, since you care so much, I've decided. Right after I kill you, I will go destroy that beastly son's grave of yours. If you can turn into a fierce ghost, then even better. Please do watch closely as your precious son's grave gets shattered. You dare! Lu Qing's words, like piercing arrows that target the heart, struck old woman Zhang repeatedly. Unable to contain her fury and panic, she couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of fresh blood, shouting loudly. However, what responded to her was the long saber in Lu Qing's hand. Seeing that the provocation had sufficiently angered the old woman, Lu Qing didn't waste any more words. He lightly swung his blade, aiming to cut the old woman's throat. Stop! Just then, a loud shout rang out. At the same time, a streak of Qing-colored sword chi shot toward the war saber in Lu Qing's hand, attempting to stop him from killing the old woman. It was the refined elder and the others who finally arrived. Hearing this voice, a hint of ecstatic madness flashed in the old woman's eyes as she shouted, "Brother Lin, save me!" Humph! However, the next moment, along with Lu Qing's cold snort, the war saber in his hand drew a mysterious arc, avoiding the sword chi, and swept across the old woman's neck.
No.
A look of terror flashed across the old woman's face. Whoosh! A head tumbled through the air and, amidst a spurt of fresh blood, landed in the mud, its expression still filled with shock. Sister Yun! A cry of anguish and rage sounded, and at the same time, several sharp sword chi attacked Lu Qing. Golden light shimmered around Lu Qing as he casually swung his saber, dispersing the sword chi, and turned his head to look at the newcomers. He spoke in a displeased tone. "What is the meaning of this, gentlemen? Are you here to avenge this wicked woman?" Although he could sense that the newcomers were all innate realm experts, Lu Qing showed no fear. In fact, he had sensed their arrival long ago, but was slightly surprised that the Qing-robed elder would suddenly attack him. Wasn't it rumored that this old lady had a bad reputation and poor relations with the other innate realm experts of State Mansion City? It seemed that rumors indeed could not be trusted. "Brother Lin, calm down." The white-haired, youthful-looking elder reached out to stop the refined elder, while feeling a bit helpless. His good friend indeed still had a place for the old lady in his heart and had lost composure in such a moment. Yet looking at the scene before him, he was equally shocked. The old lady had been killed, and her death was so brutal. How long had it been since they'd given chase out of the city? The city lord and the middle-aged man with a countenance as white as jade were also extremely shocked. They had pursued out of the city, wanting to see who had angered the old lady. But they hadn't expected that upon arriving here, they would witness her being beheaded. Moreover, her limbs had been severed, a death of extreme misery. A mighty innate realm expert had been reduced to a mutilated corpse, and the terrifying sight sent chills up the city lord's and the jade-faced man's spines. It was well known that, despite their dislike for her, old Lady Zheng's strength was formidable. If they really were to fight for their lives, they might not have been able to defeat her securely. Who could possibly be the person that killed her in such a short span of time? Involuntarily, the eyes of several innate realm experts fell upon Lu Qing. Chapter 276. Outwitting the unwary, once more kneeling to the innate. Intimidation. As the gazes of several innate realm martial artists fell on Lu Qing, their expressions were shaken once more. For from Lu Qing's body, they couldn't sense the unique innate essence of the innate realm. What did this imply? It implied that Lu Qing was not yet an innate realm martial artist. Yet he had managed to kill old Lady Zhang so effortlessly. For a moment, the several innate realm martial artists were greatly shaken in heart and spirit and became exceedingly wary of Lu Qing. Facing the scrutiny of 4 innate realm experts, Lu Qing's expression remained calm. However, invisibly, he had already activated his superpower and was unobtrusively investigating the backgrounds of the people in front of him. Seeing that Lu Qing was silent, merely gazing back at them quietly with no sign of fear, the innate realm experts felt even deeper trepidation. After a long silence, the crane-haired, youthful-faced elder spoke solemnly. "Young hero, I don't know how to address you. What vendetta do you have against this old Lady Zheng that you would torment her to death like this? Oh, must one have a vendetta against her to be allowed to kill her? Can it be because I came across something unfair, didn't like the look of her, and so simply chopped her down?" At this point, Lu Qing had already finished probing the information of the several innate realm individuals opposite him. He had even lingered a bit longer on the refined-looking elder. Hearing the crane-haired, youthful-faced elder's words, he simply replied indifferently. "You!" The refined elder suddenly widened his eyes as his aura faintly showed signs of exploding. "If you found her disagreeable, you could have simply taught her a lesson. Why did you have to deal her such a vicious blow? With such a venomous woman, what use is there in keeping her around? Old fart, surely you don't fail to realize just how malicious that old hag's heart is." Although the information probed revealed that the refined elder wasn't a man of great wickedness, Lu Qing still had no good impression of him. An obtuse old fool who, without a clear understanding of the situation, had lashed out at him. The fact that Lu Qing had tolerated it up to now already showed great restraint. This old hag, in her anger, wanted to perform a live human sacrifice for her good-for-nothing deceased grandson. Such cruel and inhumane acts, heaven and earth would condemn. What's wrong with chopping her to death? The refined elder hesitated but still attempted to defend. These are but rumors. After all, the Zheng family has not committed such a wrongdoing. Isn't it too arbitrary to condemn someone for something that hasn't happened? Old fool. I think you're so besotted with that old hag you've lost your mind. Seeing the refined elder still trying to excuse the old woman, Lu Qing no longer held back and directly scolded him. With that old woman's viciousness, can you guarantee that she truly wouldn't have performed the live human sacrifice ritual? Called old fool directly by Lu Qing, the refined elder's anger surged. But the subsequent statement made him hesitant. He wanted to say she wouldn't, but even he knew how feeble such a guarantee would be. Given old Lady Zheng's character, she might truly dare to commit such a heinous act in the end. Seeing the refined elder was rendered speechless by his retort, Lu Qing continued. And do you really think this old hag has never done a live human sacrifice before? Those words caused all the innate realm martial artists to tremble, especially the refined elder, who blurted out, "What did you say?" The city lord of State Mansion City also spoke in a deep voice. "Young friend, if what you say is true, has old Lady Zhang previously carried out such a live human sacrifice ritual? If you want to know the answer, you can go dig up the grave of Zhang family's eldest son. There you'll find everything you want to know," Lu Qing said with a cold laugh. The grave of Zhang family's eldest son. The thoughts of several innate realm experts were stirred, and they recalled the major incident of the past, along with the crazed appearance of old Lady Zhang at that time. In their hearts, they began to believe Lu Qing's words by 70 to 80%. If it were based on the grief and anger of old Lady Zhang from those days, it was indeed very possible that she could perpetrate such an abhorred act. Fine. Young man, let me say this before anything else. We shall go and investigate. If there are no traces of a live human sacrifice in the grave of Zhang family's eldest son, do not blame me for seeking justice from you, the refined elder declared. Old fart, what right do you have to seek justice from me? Even if it was a matter of avenging someone, it should be the Zhang family's matter, not yours. Who are you to them? Yet Lu Qing spoke with unhidden derision. What's more, we still have another score to settle between us. What score do I have with you? The refined elder was taken aback. Old fart, surely you're not so forgetful. Did you think I'm so magnanimous that I'd forget you attacked me just now? Lu Qing said coldly. What do you propose then? The refined elder's anger was flaring due to being repeatedly addressed as old fool, and he replied coldly. Simple. You attacked me with 3 sword chi strikes earlier, and my request is not high. Just take 1 slash from me. If you can survive this slash, then we're even. Young man, you are quite confident. Hearing Lu Qing's arrogant tone, the refined elder laughed out of sheer anger. Although I don't know how you managed to defeat old Lady Zheng. Do you really think we innate realm martial artists are so easily molded? Cut the crap. Do you dare to take it? Fine. Then why shouldn't I take your 1 slash? Hearing the refined elder agree, the crane-haired, youthful-faced elder was immediately shocked. Brother Lin, it's nothing. The refined elder waved his hand offhandedly. I also want to see what this person can do, seeing that even Sister Yun is no match for him. Chapter 277. Brother Lin, you need to be careful. Seeing his old friend utter the words Sister Yun, the elder with crane hair and a youthful face knew he couldn't dissuade him. He could only retreat to one side with some worries. As for the 2 city lords, they were even less likely to object. They were eager for someone to volunteer to test the strength of this mysterious youth before them. How could they possibly stop it? But at this moment, the way they looked at the elegant elder had some playfulness to it. They hadn't expected that this senior of the Lin family still held such affection for old Lady Zhang. Truly, the world was full of surprises. Please make your move, sir. The elegant elder, holding his long sword, stood quietly and calmly, indicating for his opponent to proceed. Good. Lu Qing, seeing this, wasted no time at all. A flash of golden light barely flickered around his form when an enormous aura burst forth from him, and like a beast unleashed, he pounced toward the elegant elder. Clang! The long saber was drawn from its sheath. A gleaming sword light carrying endless murderous intent streaked toward the elegant elder. The saber's momentum enveloped every direction, leaving no avenue of escape. The saber technique. Feeling the force of Lu Qing's strike, The elegant elder's heart trembled wildly. The terrifying intent to kill made his eyelids twitch uncontrollably. He had not imagined that Lu Qing, so still before, could unleash such a horrifyingly deadly move upon action. He could feel that Lu Qing's saber strike was supremely powerful yet deceptively simple, appearing to be a straightforward move but, in reality, containing endless variations. For a moment, he found not the slightest flaw to counterattack. This mysterious youth's saber technique seemed even superior to his swordsmanship. Though he could scarcely believe it, the elegant elder still instantly made his judgment. He could not break Lu Qing's move, nor could he evade it. His only option was to meet it head-on. But to do so meant he was very likely to die. Faced with the imminent threat of death, the elegant elder lost all traces of his former composure. His eyes wide, his innate true qi circulated at high speed, and in an instant, he employed his explosive secret technique. He then channeled all of his innate realm true qi into the long sword in his hand, and with a fierce thrust, he met Lu Qing's saber attack. Boom! The sword and saber collided, terrible sword qi and saber qi scattering and lacerating the air, cutting through everything in the vicinity. It was fortunate that the onlookers were all powerful innate realm martial artists. Otherwise, in a bustling market, just this clash alone would have killed who knows how many people. In the midst of the violent collision, the elegant elder's complexion drastically changed, feeling an overwhelmingly unstoppable force issued from Lu Qing's saber. His treasure sword, which was infused with all his strength, couldn't fully withstand it. His arms violently shook, and he was unable to keep his footing. He staggered backward a dozen steps before stopping himself with a large tree behind him. Looking up, with a trace of fresh blood seeping from the corner of his mouth, he looked toward Lu Qing in utter shock. Clearly, in the exchange with Lu Qing's move, he had suffered internal injuries. What? Seeing the elegant elder forced back by a single blow from Lu Qing, with blood trickling from his mouth, the other three innate realm experts were all shocked, hardly believing their eyes. It was known that among them, the elegant elder's strength ranked within the top two. Furthermore, his cultivation had reached the peak of the initial innate realm, just one step away from the minor success realm. Such a formidable man was forced to use his explosive secret technique by this mysterious youth and still got pushed back by a single strike. How could they not be astounded? Most importantly, up until now, they still could not detect a hint of innate essence from Lu Qing. It was clear to them that what Lu Qing had just unleashed was the qi and blood power typical of postnatal martial artists. With the physical strength of a postnatal martial artist, he had pushed back an innate realm expert at the peak of the initial realm. Who exactly was this mysterious youth? The elder with the crane hair and youthful face, along with the others, watched Lu Qing with profound shock. Not bad to take one of my strikes and not die. You do have some skill, unlike that old woman who couldn't even handle one hit. In the aftermath of their collision, Lu Qing also took several steps back. But compared to the elegant elder's disheveled state, his retreat seemed much more leisurely. He steadied himself after a mere few steps, looked at the elegant elder bleeding from his mouth, nodded approvingly, and offered his assessment. Upon hearing Lu Qing's words, as if he were evaluating a junior, the elegant elder couldn't hold back any longer, and a mouthful of fresh blood spurted out. "Brother Lin, are you all right?" The elder with crane hair and a youthful face, startled, rushed forward and produced an elixir for him to take. "I'm all right. Just some shock to my inner organs. My true qi is temporarily scattered, but I'll be fine after some rest and recovery," the elegant elder said in a low voice after taking the elixir. "That's good to hear." Hearing his old friend's words, the elder with crane hair and youthful face felt relieved. However, his apprehension about Lu Qing rose once again. Brother Lin's strength was even higher than his own. Yet Lu Qing's single strike had scattered his true qi. If it had been him, would he not have been severely injured? "Now that you've taken my strike, let's consider our account settled. If you're still unsatisfied and seek vengeance for that old lady, I am always ready to oblige. However, next time, you might not be as lucky as you were today. Seeing the elegant elder beginning to heal and regulate his breath, Lu Qing spoke indifferently, ready to leave. Please wait. Your cultivation is admirable, and your saber skills profound. We truly admire you. May I ask for your esteemed name? Seeing Lu Qing about to depart, the city lord quickly spoke up. Chapter 278. Just with you, you're not qualified to know my name. However, Lu Qing didn't linger a moment longer. With a few jumps, he had already disappeared into the forest. His speed was incredibly fast, his movement technique extremely agile, seemingly in no way inferior to those in the innate realm around him. During this process, they still were unable to sense any trace of the innate essence from him. Watching the direction in which Lu Qing vanished, several innate realm martial artists remained silent for a long time. It wasn't until Lu Qing's presence had completely disappeared that the middle-aged man with a complexion like white jade suddenly said, "What do you think? Is he truly from the postnatal realm? Or is it a disguise? Does it make a difference?" The city lord said. He was able to injure Mr. Lin with a single strike, and his strength is no lesser than ours. Unless we join forces, none of us can detain him. The question is, do you dare to stop him? The man with a complexion like white jade fell silent. Indeed, if they had wanted to stop Lu Qing just now, it would have been possible with their combined strength. But they didn't dare. There was no helping it. Lu Qing was simply too mysterious. His strength, even more so, was strangely unpredictable. To be able to defeat two innate realm experts with just the chi and blood power of his postnatal realm physical body was simply inconceivable. Such a feat they had neither seen nor even heard of before. And for such a terrifying individual to say he had no profound background, they absolutely wouldn't believe it. Realizing this, the city lord and the others no longer wanted to offend Lu Qing, who knew what kind of terrifying force might be behind him. Thus, when Lu Qing wanted to leave, they didn't dare to block him. Indeed, the rumors are true. The world is about to change. Devils are about to rise. Who would have thought we'd encounter such an unparalleled devil today? After a long silence, the middle-aged man with a complexion like white jade suddenly sighed. The remaining three, upon hearing these words, felt a stir in their hearts. What the man with a complexion like white jade was referring to was a rumor that had been circulating in the world over the past 2 years. It was said that a great change in heaven and earth was imminent, and that the world would face drastic changes. Geniuses and devils would emerge out of nowhere, bringing chaos to the world. Originally, they were somewhat skeptical about this rumor. But the mysterious young man they encountered today had made them think that the rumor might indeed be true. Looking at it now, old Lady Zheng really has bad luck to have provoked such a terrible devil. The man with a complexion like white jade then said with schadenfreude. Among those present, if anyone had the greatest disdain for old Lady Zheng, it was undoubtedly him. Back when he had not yet stepped into the innate realm, he had been suppressed by the Zheng family quite often. Now, with the old lady dead, his joy was written all over his face. The others knew of his grudge with the Zheng family. Except for the refined elder whose expression seemed somewhat downcast, the remaining two showed no particular reaction. "Gentlemen, what shall we do next?" The elder with white hair and a youthful face asked. "Of course we go to the Zheng family, open the grave of Zheng family's eldest son, and see if what the man just said is true," the city lord said. "But—" the refined elder was about to say something, but was immediately interrupted by the city lord. "Mr. Lin, don't forget, it is strictly forbidden by Holy Mountain to use living people as sacrifices. If old Lady Zheng really did commit such an act, I, as the city lord, must investigate this matter thoroughly and carry out severe punishment." The refined elder opened his mouth, but ultimately closed it. He knew that the city lord had every legitimate reason to investigate, and that he had no grounds to stop him. But he also knew that if anything was uncovered, the Zheng family would certainly face severe punishment. Thinking of the promise he had made to that person all those years ago, the refined elder sighed to himself, at a loss as to what was best to do. Chapter 279. Opening the tomb, furious rage, the Zheng family's downfall. Innate realm expert, no wonder they're not so easy to defeat. A mile away from where he had slain old Lady Zheng, Lu Qing was sitting up in meditation on a big tree. Though he had clashed with the refined old man, it hadn't been as effortless as he made it appear. In reality, his inner organs had also been shaken. It was only that under his strong divine soul control ability, he had completely suppressed the injuries. After all, that refined old man was different from old Lady Zheng. Old Lady Zheng herself had been severely injured, with not much life left. Her spirit had long since departed from its peak, and he had already chopped off one of her arms in advance. She couldn't use even half her strength, so it was natural for him to kill her easily. However, the refined old man was different. Although he was equally aged, his qi cultivation technique was extremely well performed. His vigor had not declined, and his strength was still at its peak. Such a powerful person at the peak of the initial innate realm, Lu Qing defeating him was no easy task. It was only because he had forced the opponent to recklessly block his strike through his provocative words. Otherwise, if they truly fought hard, even if he could defeat the opponent, he would undoubtedly have to pay a hefty price. Unless he went all out, revealing all his cards, there was a real possibility for a sure kill in one strike. After recuperating for a while, Lu Qing had completely recovered. His injuries, compared to the refined old man, were much lighter. The Vajra Great Power Talisman not only tremendously increased his strength but also his defensive power. It was not inferior to the protective true qi of innate realm martial artists at all. Coupled with his youthful robustness and vigorous qi blood, recovery came naturally fast. He didn't even need to take any healing medicine. Simply relying on his own qi blood circulation, recovery was swift. Those few people have left. Just after he healed, Lu Qing sensed that several innate realm experts close by, using their movement techniques, were heading towards the direction of State Mansion City. This was the formidable aspect of Lu Qing's divine soul power after refining the divine soul talisman. With the enhancement from the divine soul talisman, his divine soul sensing ability far surpassed that of ordinary martial artists in the initial innate realm. Plus, he could perfectly hide his own energy fluctuations. Therefore, he could sense the movements of the refined old man and others, but they knew nothing of his whereabouts. Sensing that the people were leaving, Lu Qing immediately moved. Once he reached the previous site, he found that old Lady Zheng's body had already been taken away. Only bloodstains on the ground proved that a fierce battle had occurred. Looking in the direction the refined old man and others had gone, Lu Qing immediately followed. There was still something he had yet to finish. How could he just leave so easily? Carrying the body of old woman Zheng, the refined old man and others went back towards State Mansion City. First tidying up old woman Zheng's body before heading to Zheng Mansion. Meanwhile, the people of Zheng family were anxiously waiting inside. The family ancestor had gone to hunt down the evildoer who had destroyed the second son's coffin and corpse and had yet to return, making them understandably worried. When they saw the refined old man and others visit, but not their own mother, Zheng family master felt a bad premonition in his heart. Uncle Lin, City Lord, how come you are here? Were you here to visit my mother? But she just went out not long ago and hasn't returned yet. Seeing several innate realm experts coming together, Zheng family master felt a tremor in his heart and hurriedly welcomed them without delay. He brought up his mother's name to bolster his confidence. However, what made Zheng family master uneasy was when he finished speaking, he noticed that the several innate realm experts all looked at him with strange gazes. City Lord and Uncle Bao both showed pity in their eyes, whereas the Chung family patriarch, who had always had disputes with their Zheng family, had a face filled with schadenfreude. You Uncle Lin, could it be that my mother, has she encountered some misfortune? Zheng family master's bad premonition grew stronger, and he stuttered as he asked. The refined old man sighed. Nephew, your mother, she has passed away. How is that possible? Upon hearing this, Zheng family master felt like he'd been struck by lightning and could not believe it. My mother was an innate realm expert with profound cultivation. Who could have killed her? People around Zheng Mansion were similarly shocked. Humph, just because she was an innate realm does not mean she can't be killed. With your mother's dying state, it's not strange that someone slaughtered her. A middle-aged man with a face as pale as jade scoffed derisively at that moment. Seeing him insult his mother, Zhang family master's anger surged, about to shout furiously, but the refined old man preemptively stopped him. Nephew, your mother has indeed passed away. I have already brought back her body. It's outside. You can see for yourself in a moment. The refined old man did not want Zhang family master to confront the pale-faced man at this time. Zhang family and Cheng family had always been at odds. Only because old lady Zhang was alive had the two families temporarily lived in peace. Now that old lady Zhang had died, Zhang family had lost a pillar, and the power balance between the two families had already shifted. If Zhang family master angered the pale-faced man right then, the consequences would be unimaginable. Upon hearing this, Zhang family master immediately rushed outside. Other Zhang family members followed suit. Then they saw, lying on a stretcher, their family ancestor with limbs and head severed, had been dead for who knows how long. Mother! Zhang family master saw his mother's horrific condition. His anger was great, and his grief profound. Other Zhang family members were also filled with horror as if the sky itself were falling. Uncle Lin, who in the world could be so venomous, to humiliate and harm my mother in such a way? Zhang family master abruptly looked up, his eyes red with rage and sorrow. Chapter 280. Opening the Tomb, Furious Rage, the Zhang Family's Downfall Part 2. You should not inquire into this matter. The person who killed your mother is extremely powerful and is not someone your Zhang family can afford to provoke, the cultivated old man said solemnly. He remembered the force of Lu Qing's previous strike and his fingers involuntarily trembled slightly. Zhang family master's expression faltered, and before he could continue speaking, the fair-faced man sneered again. Stop thinking about revenge. You should pray instead that your Zhang family can survive the coming disaster. Zhang family master jolted, watching the fair-faced man warily. Cheng clan leader, what do you mean by that? What do I mean? I ask you, has your Zhang family ever conducted a living human sacrifice as an evil burial rite? Absolutely not. Zhang family master felt a surge in his heart, but he shook his head without any hesitation. Those are merely baseless rumors from outsiders. My Zhang family has never engaged in such abhorrent actions. Zhang family master was still quite calm about this point. He knew his mother had such intentions but hadn't had the chance to act as she was preoccupied with Yuer's funeral arrangements. So far, the family members of those few guards were still alive and well in the dungeon, not having suffered too much. Not conducted? That's good, we're going to exhume the tomb for verification. You should bring some people and join us, said the fair-faced man. Exhuming the tomb? Zhang family master was somewhat bewildered. Yuer had not been buried yet, and previously, even the corpse had been destroyed by evil men. What tomb was there to speak of? However, the next words from the fair-faced man drastically changed his complexion. Yes, we are going to dig up Zhang Shihao's tomb. What, you want to dig up my elder brother's tomb? Someone informed us that when Zhang Shihao was buried, your Zhang family conducted a living human sacrifice. Naturally, we need to investigate thoroughly. Nonsense. My elder brother has been dead for over 20 years. How can we verify something from over 2 decades ago? Cheng clan leader, this must be someone's malicious slander. My Zhang family operates uprightly. How could we do such a detestable act? Zhang family master trembled inwardly, but his face still showed outrage as he forcefully asserted. Whether it's slander, we will discern for ourselves. Once we open Zhang Shihao's tomb, we'll know. The technique of living human sacrifices will leave clay figures of the sacrificed in the tomb. Once the tomb is opened, everything will come to light. Or is it that your Zhang family has something to hide and is afraid to let us examine the tomb? The fair-faced man said coldly. Of course not, but... Zhang family master wanted to argue further, but at this moment, the patience of the fair-faced man had already run out. His aura suddenly intensified as he stared at Zhang family master, Zhang Shiji, don't be ungrateful. Do you think your Zhang family still has the right to refuse? The powerful aura of the innate realm pressed upon Zhang family master's chest, making it difficult for him to breathe. He felt immense sadness and indignation. If his mother were still alive, how could they allow such bullying at their doorstep? Although he knew the situation was beyond his control, he also understood that allowing people to open his elder brother's tomb would lead to even worse consequences. Zhang family master looked around and saw that the city lord and an old man with youthful features both wore indifferent expressions, indicating their agreement with the excavation. Having no other choice, he turned his pleading gaze towards the cultivated old man. Uncle Lin! However, his vehement reaction had already aroused suspicion among the other innate realm experts. Therefore, even the cultivated old man found it difficult to intercede and could only sigh. Just open the tomb. Seeing that even the cultivated old man, who had relations with his family, did not speak on his behalf, Zhang family master knew that all was lost. His hands involuntarily drooped, as though in mourning. Seeing his dejected appearance, the several innate realm experts became even more convinced of their suspicions. An hour later, at the Zhang family's graveyard in front of Zhang Shihao's tomb, the cultivated old man and others stood. Behind them stood many powerful martial artists. It turned out that the city lord, in the interest of fairness, had directly invited the heads of other families and forces from State Mansion City. These heads of various families and forces were a bit bewildered when summoned. They were shocked to learn that the innate ancestor of the Zhang family had already passed away. Now, hearing about the exhumation of Zhang Shihao's tomb, they were utterly perplexed, not knowing what exactly had happened. Only seeing the city lord and a refined elder both with serious expressions, no one dared to speak up and ask. These individuals, who usually kept to themselves in the city, appearing very rarely. Some small family heads had only heard of their names but had never seen their faces. Now that they had gathered together, the matter must be very important. None dared to inquire. Open the tomb. Following the city lord's order, immediately someone from the city lord mansion stepped forward, waving iron picks and shovels to begin excavating the tomb. Very soon, the tomb door was unearthed. As the tomb door opened, people entered to explore inside. The person exploring inside the tomb was a special talent recruited by the city lord mansion, particularly adept at investigating various tombs. Being from a prominent family, Zhang Shihao had once been extremely favored by old Lady Zhang. His tomb was naturally extraordinary. Not only was the space large with many chambers, but there were also many traps to prevent tomb raiding. However, these mechanisms were virtually ineffective against the special tomb explorer dispatched by the city lord mansion. Soon, the individuals sent down came out carrying a terracotta figure. City lord, under this tomb, there are many chambers, splendid and regal. In the main chamber, there is a magnificent coffin, flanked by terracotta figures in positions of worship. This terracotta figure was in the center. All eyes inevitably fell on that terracotta figure. The figure was seen kneeling, resembling a young girl, with faintly discernible, beautifully contoured features. Yet her face was filled with a look of pain and resentfulness. The interweaving of beauty and vengeance gave the terracotta figure a particularly strange vibe. The moment they laid eyes on this terracotta figure, the faces of the city lord and others turned very unsightly. Even some of those behind with knowledgeable backgrounds, recognizing the origins of the terracotta figure, had their expressions drastically change. The refined elder murmured, "How could this be? How could she become so malicious? How could this?" The city lord's hand lightly brushed over the terracotta figure. The figurine shattered. A wisp of black air surged out, revealing the bones inside. A living human sacrificed, the condemned sealed underground, divine souls eternally trapped within the terracotta figure, never to be reborn. How dare this old woman? How dare you, Zhang family? The city lord's complexion turned ashen. His tone filled with a chilling coldness. His aura terrifyingly intense, as if about to burst forth at any moment. At that moment, the others who hadn't recognized the origins of the terracotta figure couldn't help but exclaim in shock. They all recalled the recent rumors in the city. They had thought it was someone deliberately targeting the Zheng family, not expecting that the Zheng family had actually held such a venomous ritual more than 20 years ago. City Lord, the younger generation was completely unaware of this. The construction of my brother's tomb back then was entirely managed by my mother. I truly didn't know she had secretly conducted the ritual of a living human sacrifice. If I had known, I would have definitely stopped her. Please discern the truth. Zheng family master knelt on the ground, crying out in a terrified tone. Yet his cries did not move the city lord in the slightest. You claim you didn't know. Then why did you repeatedly try to prevent the opening of the tomb just now? Zheng family master, do you really take me for a fool? Hearing the city lord's severely cold words, Zheng family master collapsed to the ground. He knew the Zheng family was completely doomed. Seeing his appearance, everyone knew his previous words were merely pleas for mercy. Who would have thought the once awe-inspiring, arrogant head of the Zheng family, without any support, would still beg for mercy? Boom! Boom, boom, boom. Just as everyone was feeling disdainful, suddenly, loud noises erupted. Several incredibly strong blasts of energy, origin unknown, suddenly struck Zhang Shihao's grave. Not only did they shatter the tombstone, but they also pierced several large holes through the underground chambers. One of the blasts of energy went straight for the Zheng family master, piercing through his chest.